Chapter 1683. Xiaoka was immersed in the joy of reuniting with the male thief and didn't think about the details. But now that she was back at the orphanage and calmed down, she felt that something wasn't right. She only told Xiao Ken about this, so how did the male thief know? Male thief? He went to stop you? Xiao Ken paused. He thought that Lin Yi had helped Xiaoka, but he didn't think that the male thief would appear in front of her personally. This meant that the male thief hadn't been caught, and this male thief seemed to be someone Lin Yi found. After all, he had asked Lin Yi for help, and then the male thief appeared right after. He wouldn't believe that it had nothing to do with Lin Yi. Yeah, how did he know that I went to the execution? Xiao Ken, did you tell anyone about me? Xiaoka frowned as she looked at Xiao Ku. Xiao Ken didn't know what to say. He promised Lin Yi that he wouldn't tell anyone, but he was curious. What did the male thief look like? He still looked the same, wearing a mask. Xiaoka said, "What's wrong?" No. Then what is he wearing? Xiao Ken suddenly had an inexplicable premonition in his heart. He was wearing a normal white shirt, beige pants. What's wrong? Xiaoka recalled what the male thief was wearing and said, You didn't see him before, did you? Xiao Ken's eyes widened after hearing Xiaoka's words. It couldn't be right. White shirt, beige pants. Wasn't that what Lin Yi was wearing? Xiao Ken had a good memory, so he remembered it clearly. Could it be that the male thief that Xiaoka saw was Lin Yi in disguise? That didn't seem right. Xiao Ken shook his head inwardly. How could Lin Yi have the male thief's mask? How could he know what the male thief's mask looked like? He didn't even know what the male thief's mask looked like. Sister Xiao Ku had never told him about it. Xiao Ken naturally wouldn't repeat it to Lin Yi. Then where did Lin Yi's mask come from? Was the male thief Lin Yi? Or could it be that Lin Yi knew the male thief from the start, and so he pretended to be him to stop Xiaoka from coming back? But if that was the case, then there were still two suspicious points. First, since the male thief was the one Xiaoka liked, she should have a deep impression of him. Wouldn't she be able to tell if someone was pretending to be him? Secondly, where was Lin Yi going to find the male thief's mask in such a short time? If that was the case, then the only possibility left was that Lin Yi was the male thief, or that Lin Yi knew the male thief and could find him to stop Xiaoka. However, these two possibilities were a little too unbelievable. But that didn't mean it was impossible, and Ken was leaning towards the first guess. Could it be that Yu Xiaoqiao was wearing the same clothes as Lin Yi? I haven't seen it before, but when you left, I think I saw someone wearing the same clothes following you. I wanted to warn you, but you guys ran too fast and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Xiao Ken had no choice but to lie. I thought I was seeing wrongly. I didn't think that it was the male thief. He followed me. Then he must have heard our conversation. Could it be that he guessed that I would go save him after seeing the news, so he came here early? Xiaoka didn't know what was going on. It was a small possibility, but it was the only explanation that made sense. I don't know either. Xiao Ken's heart was in turmoil. It couldn't be this coincidental, right? Lin Yi was the male thief. It seemed that she'd made the right call and found the right person. And Xiaoka, sis, didn't seem to have any feelings for Lin Yi. It's fine. Go back to your work. Since there's nothing else, there's no need to give the letter to the dean. Oh, okay. Xiao Ken ran out of Xiaoka's room as if a heavy burden had been lifted from his shoulders. He felt bad lying in front of Xiaoka, so he had to leave as soon as possible so that he could relax. When Lin Yi returned to the villa, Faubert had just returned as well. Lin Yi hadn't been home these days, and it was Faubert and Qintian protecting Mengyao and Yushu. Qintian used to be alone, but he was afraid that something like the exam would happen again, so Faubert would come back every night. Today Lin Yi was back. Faubert didn't know about it, so he went back to the villa after sending Pingzhan home. When Faubert parked his car, Lin Yi's car was parked right beside Faubert's. Yi, you're back? Faubert saw Lin Yi and said happily, Yow yow, and Shu missed you a lot, come in. Haha, Falbert, I came back a while ago, but I had to go out for a while. Lin E smiled. They've seen me already. I see, you've seen them already. Falbert nodded. These two missed you a lot. Since you've seen them, let's go in together. Wait for me. I'll take out some food from the car. It turned out that Falbert had bought some fast food. Lin he wasn't home, so there was no one to cook for Yao Yao and Shu. Sometimes Falbert had to accompany Pingzhan to socialize, so he couldn't deliver food to them every day. As a result, they had to rely on fast food to survive. Lin Yi and Falbert walked into the villa together. Meng Yao and Yushu had already washed up and were about to sleep. They didn't have much to do these days, so they slept early at home. Seeing Linny walk in, Yushu said sleepily, "She'll bro your back. I still want to listen to your stories, but I'm so tired, then we'll talk about it tomorrow." Lin Yi smiled. There's no rush. You and Yao Yao can rest first. I have something to discuss with Falbert. Ah, Yushu was a little disappointed. I was hoping Shield Bro could coax me to sleep. All right, Shu Lin Yi just came back. If he has something to discuss with Falbert, then it must be important. Let's go to sleep first. Don't disturb him. Meng Yao thought about it more than Yushu. Lin Yi already said that he didn't know martial arts when he talked about what happened at House Tang, and that it was all made up. He should be studying martial arts with Falbert right now, so Meng Yao naturally wouldn't disturb him. Okay. Yushu nodded with a yawn before getting dragged upstairs by Meng Yao in a daze. Target equals _blank. Chapter 1684. Is there something you need from me? Falbert was a little confused. He didn't know why Lin Yi was looking for him so seriously. Falbert, you used to be in Earth class, right? Lin Yi asked. Yes, before I lost my strength, I was in Earth class. Falbert sighed, as if reminiscing about the past, a look of melancholy on his face. I don't know when I'll be able to recover my peak strength. But even if I do, I don't know who my enemies are. Don't worry, Falbert, the truth will come to light one day. Lin Yi consoled. As long as you're here, there's hope. I'm still leveling up, and you'll level up with me. When we reach Sky Class, the day we get our revenge won't be far. Yeah, it's good that you're still here, but I'm the only one left. My wife, my daughter, and my Shifu, they're all gone. Falbert was a little helpless and unwilling. I thought I'd let it go, but ever since you raised me to mystic early phase, I couldn't suppress the fire of vengeance in my heart. I knew that one day I might have to step on this path. I'm really sorry. Maybe in the near future, I won't be able to fulfill my promise to take care of Yao Yao and the others for the rest of their lives. They and Mr. Chu's safety will have to depend on you. Look at what you're saying. Isn't it just revenge? What's the big deal? When I can raise you to Sky Class, I'll be Sky Class too, and the people around me will be Sky Class too. Lingshan, Yutian, Qintian, and Xiao Xiao. We have 6 Sky Class Masters. Even an ancient sect wouldn't have such a strong lineup. Wouldn't it be a piece of cake for us to wipe out your enemy, then? Lin Yi comforted Li Fu nonchalantly after hearing the words. You're right. Uncle Fu nodded his head. At that time, with so many Heaven Stage experts, they will be able to eliminate my enemy. Hearing you say that, I am relieved and have regained a lot of confidence. Right? Why are you asking about this all of a sudden? Falbert realized that Lin Yi wouldn't bring this up for no reason. Actually, I wanted to ask you, do you know anything about martial arts? Lin Yi asked. Martial arts? Earth class martial arts? Of course, I know this. For cultivators, the Earth class is a watershed. The Golden class can only be considered as the beginning, and the Mystic class can be considered as a small achievement. But only when you reach the Earth class can you be considered to have truly stepped onto the path of cultivation. Uncle Fu said, only when you reach the Earth class can you be considered a true cultivator. Martial techniques are their battle skills, and they have quite a bit of an advantage over Mystic and Yellow class. This is also the reason why the Hidden House Arbitration Association restricted Earth class from appearing in the common world. If they really fought, Mystic and Golden class would be no match for them. So that's how it is. Then, Faubert, do you have any martial skills? Lin Yi asked, or in other words, do you have any powerful martial skills? Of course, I've practiced martial skills. Why are you suddenly asking about this? Could it be that you've already... Faubert wasn't stupid. After listening to Lin Yi's words, he was able to come to a conclusion. He looked at Lin Yi in shock. That's right. I'm already at the early stage of Earth class. Lin Yi smiled as he revealed his Earth class strength to Faubert. I didn't expect that. You actually broke through. Although Faubert knew that Lin Yi would definitely break through one day, he didn't expect it to be this fast. Before, when Lin Yi was at home, he had been looking for an opportunity to break through. However, after being poisoned by the 5-step powder, it became even more hopeless. From Faubert's point of view, Lin Yi could only wait until the antidote was removed. That would have to wait until next year. However, he didn't expect that Lin Yi was already in Earth class when he came back. Luckily, I had no choice but to eat the Qi gathering pill. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. It's a bit of a waste to eat it, but it's still useful. You ate the Qi gathering pill. Faubert was stunned. Don't tell me you don't know about the drawbacks of the Qi gathering pill. Faubert didn't expect Lin Yi to directly eat the Qi gathering pill as an opportunity to break through. This shocked him. Before, Lin Yi said that he got a Qi gathering pill. Faubert didn't pay much attention to it. After all, it was a pill for the peak of the late stage of Earth class to break through to Heaven class. For Lin Yi, it was still too far away, so Faubert didn't say much about it. However, he didn't expect that Lin Yi had already taken it without permission. This made Faubert surprised and regretful. When he was young, he also heard about the Qi gathering pill. However, his master told him about the drawbacks of the Qi gathering pill. It's just that the drawbacks were not this drawbacks for Faubert. It was also because Faubert's sect was looking for the Qi gathering pill with great fanfare that attracted the suspicion of other sections. Therefore, the treasure was exposed and the sect was destroyed. I know. It's just that after eating it, it'll be difficult to cultivate again. Now the natural world's spiritual energy is too thin. It's not as pure as the Qi in the Qi gathering pill. Therefore, after taking the Qi gathering pill, it's instinctive to reject the Qi in the natural world. It's impossible to continue cultivating in the natural world. Lin Yi said, Yes, it's like a barbarian eating raw meat. After eating cooked food, it's hard to swallow raw meat. It's the same principle. Faubert nodded and said, Since you know, why did you still eat the Qi gathering pill? Don't you want to continue breaking through? From Earth class? I'm different from others. Lin Yi smiled. I have my own way of cultivation. After listening to Lin Yi's words, Faubert was slightly stunned. Although he was curious, he didn't ask further. In the past, he also had that treasure, so he didn't have the drawbacks of taking the Qi gathering pill. However, this treasure brought disaster to his sect. Therefore, after listening to Lin Yi's words, Faubert didn't ask further. You want to learn martial arts? But martial arts are generally compatible with the Heart Sutra. When you cultivate the Heart Sutra, don't you have a martial art that goes with it? Faubert asked curiously, although some profound martial arts are also universal. If you don't have the corresponding Heart Sutra, even if you can learn it, it will be very difficult. Therefore, generally, every Heart Sutra has several corresponding martial arts. This is the essence of the predecessors. My Heart Sutra combined with the martial arts may not be suitable for your Heart Sutra. Target equals _blank. Chapter 1685. There's such a thing. Lin Yi was taken aback. He'd picked up his practitioner's arts from the cave and other than a jade pendant and the first stage of the art of dragon mastery. He didn't have any other martial arts manuals. As a result, he didn't know what martial arts manuals were at all, and he'd almost gotten himself into a huge disadvantage. Heart Sutra. Don't tell me you don't have one? Seeing Lin Yi's surprised look, Faubert was also surprised. Not at the moment. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. My master practices differently from me, and the mantra I practice is not similar to others, so I don't have any martial techniques for now. I can only remember one type of martial skill, which is the one I practiced myself. However, it's only the first 3 moves. I haven't had the time to practice the rest. As for the martial skill manuals, they're all in the sect's scripture pavilion. They're long gone. Uncle Fu smiled bitterly. If you want, I can teach you. Only 3 forms, and I don't even know if I can practice them. Lin Yi sighed helplessly, not to mention if he could practice Faubert's martial technique. Even if he could, only 3 forms was a little too little. But now Lin Yi had no other choice. Although Lin Yi guessed that there should be a martial technique that went with the art of dragon mastery, Lin Yi didn't have it in his hands. And whether there was one behind the 2nd floor, Lin Yi didn't know either. If there wasn't, when the 3rd door would open was unknown. So Lin Yi was desperate. Since he had Faubert's martial technique, he might as well try it out. As long as it wasn't a martial technique that was soft and gentle like the Ice Palace, then Lin Yi could still try it out. But the Ice Palace martial technique was the polar opposite of Lin Yi's mantra. If he forced himself to practice it, he might go crazy. Holy Church! I'll spend the next 2 days recalling and sorting out the martial skills. You can give it a try. Faubert said, "It's been too long since I've used martial skills. I'm a little emotional. I'm an Earth class master now. If you want, I can help you increase your strength right now." Lin Yi suddenly thought that if he could raise Uncle Fu to Earth class as well, then wouldn't it be easier for him to learn from Uncle Fu himself? Wouldn't it be easier and easier to understand than learning from the boring text? It can still be improved? Faubert's eyes suddenly lit up. Then he was filled with the flames of hope. Earth rank, that was the temptation of Earth rank. Once Faubert recovered his Earth rank, it would be equivalent to returning to the peak of his life. In that case, he would be one step closer to his dream of revenge. It should be possible. Lin Yi said, "By the way, have you recovered your strength while I was away?" "Recently. Right, if you hadn't mentioned it, I would have forgotten about that." At this point, Faubert's face suddenly turned serious. "I was wondering before. Ever since you helped me increase my strength, it's as if I don't absorb the heaven and earth spiritual chi in the natural world. When I practice for myself, there's no progress at all." No progress at all. Lin Yi was slightly taken aback, but then he thought of something very important. That was, since the chi gathering pill contained a large amount of pure chi, people who used it would be repelled by the heaven and earth spiritual chi in the natural world. Then the energy in his body was even purer than the chi gathering pill. After others used his own energy, wouldn't they be repelled by the heaven and earth spiritual chi in the natural world? After using the chi gathering pill, Lin Yi realized that it didn't affect the absorption of the energy in the jade space at all. This proved that the energy in the jade space was the purest, and even the chi gathering pill couldn't compare to it. That explained what Faubert was talking about. All of a sudden, Lin Yi remembered something Lingshan said before. It seemed that Lingshan was in a similar situation as well. After her strength was forcefully increased by Lin Yi, there was no effect when she practiced. At the thought, Lin Yi couldn't help but smile bitterly. It seemed that the energy being too pure was a drawback as well. These people had received his favor, but at the same time there was a huge drawback. When they leveled up, they had to rely on Lin Yi to help them break through. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to make any progress on their own. However, he had also absorbed the pure energy in the space of the jade pendant, so the energy in the chi gathering pill was not very pure. From this, He could tell that if the difference in the purity of the energy was not too big, it would not be a problem. If the difference was too big, it would be a problem. The heaven and earth spiritual qi in the ancient times was abundant, and the drawback of the qi gathering pill didn't exist. Now that the heaven and earth spiritual qi was getting thinner and thinner, the drawback was getting more and more obvious. The qi you gave me. Faubert seemed to have thought of this as well. Lin Yi had said that there wouldn't be any drawbacks after using the qi gathering pill. That meant that the qi Lin Yi got was even purer than the qi in the qi gathering pill. And so, after Lin Yi's qi went into Faubert's body, Faubert started to reject the heaven and earth spiritual qi. No matter how much he trained, he wouldn't make much progress. You thought of it too. Lin Yi nodded and said, the qi I gave you should be about the same as the qi gathering pill. It's both very pure, so it caused the same drawback as the qi gathering pill. It seems that in the future, only I can help you level up, or you can use the qi gathering pill to level up. That's the only way. Faubert smiled bitterly and said, but this way, I don't have to waste any effort. I can just sit back and enjoy the fruits of your labor. With you leveling up in front, I can just follow behind. I can break through and level up effortlessly. This is really, originally when Faubert was in his own sect, he had the help of that precious treasure, so he thought that leveling up was very fast. It was like opening a cheat and opening a cheat, so it was much easier than others. But now, until he met Lin Yi, Faubert finally understood what a real cheat and cheat was. Lin Yi was much more powerful than the precious treasure of his own sect. Even with the help of that precious treasure, he still had to train hard in order to achieve anything. But with Lin Yi, he didn't need to do that at all. He just had to sit back and enjoy the fruits of others' labor. Lin Yi could be said to be much more important than that precious treasure. If this matter were to spread, it was estimated that a living person like Lin Yi would become a target for all the major sections. Of course, if Lin Yi had great strength, then he would become a powerful person who was even more sought after than the profession of alchemist, and would be respected by others. Target equals _blank. Chapter 1686. But if he wasn't strong enough and was captured and used as a leveling machine, that wouldn't be good. Lil Yi, it's best not to reveal this ability of yours to people you don't know. This ability of yours is a priceless treasure. Faubert said solemnly, an innocent man gets into trouble because of his wealth. Back then, I was the best example. Faubert, don't worry. I naturally won't let people I don't know about this ability of mine. The only people I can help are those I'm very close to and close to. Lin, he said, it's getting late. Shall we start now? Okay. Faubert nodded solemnly and sat cross-legged in front of Lin Yi. With the previous experience, Faubert was no stranger to Lin Yi helping him increase his strength. Lin Yi held onto Faubert's meridians and entered the space of the jade, channeling the art of dragon mastery. Faubert, on the other hand, started channeling his Nigong. Immediately, Lin Yi's boundless qi surged over, lifting Faubert's spirits. It wasn't the first time either of them increased their strength, so it was a walk in the park for them. Faubert quickly channeled his Nigong and channeled the qi from Lin Yi for his own use. Peak early phase, mid-phase, peak mid-phase. Faubert's forehead was dripping with sweat. Although this was a way to sit back and enjoy the fruits of others' labor, the speed was too fast, and Faubert was having trouble digesting it. It was like force-feeding a duck, making Faubert very tired. Although it was hard, Faubert's heart was filled with excitement and joy. He had been training for so long and was still in the early phase of the mystic class, but as soon as Lin Yi came back, he raised his strength all the way up, directly breaking through several barriers that were extremely difficult for others. For normal practitioners, raising their strength by one level was already a very difficult thing. Even if Lin Yi invented several ways to break through, it was still extremely difficult and tiring, not to mention others. The journey was smooth from mid-phase peak to late phase peak. But when he got here, Faubert's strength suddenly stopped. But this was what Lin Yi had foreseen. Every time he leveled up, he could only raise the person's strength to late phase peak, which was one level lower than his own. If he didn't use any special methods, then this would always be the case. But Lin Yi wasn't worried. Lin Yi invented the method of compressing qi and successfully made Lingshan, Yutian, Qintian, and Faubert break through from golden late phase peak to mystic early phase. So when Faubert reached late phase peak, Lin Yi stopped the energy transfer when he was just a little bit away from mystic late phase peak. He wanted to take a short break and then send a compressed qi bag over, letting Faubert break through to Earth class. Rest for a while, and then I'll compress qi to help you break through. This process should be very painful, just like when you broke through from golden late phase peak to mystic early phase, Lin Yi said. It's okay, I can hold on. Faubert nodded. This little pain is nothing compared to the increase in strength. Even if it's 10,000 times more painful, it'll be worth it. Faubert wasn't being humble, he was speaking the truth. If someone else could increase their strength by this much, not to mention this little pain, it would be worth it, even if they had to stay in the hospital for a year and a half. Okay, let's continue. Lin Yi nodded and started to compress qi. Lin Yi was very familiar with the amount of energy needed to break through from mystic late phase peak to Earth class early phase. But since Lin Yi was already in Earth class early phase, Lin Yi had calculated the amount of qi needed. So, to ensure that Faubert could break through in one go, Lin Yi compressed the exact amount of energy this time. The next moment, Lin Yi sent the compressed qi into Faubert's body, and Faubert's face flushed red. His body made a loud bang, and with a scream he fell to the ground, sweating profusely from the pain. Ah! Faubert moaned in pain as if he was severely injured. Faubert, how are you? Lin Yi was startled. He didn't expect this to happen. He quickly put his hand on Faubert's meridians and checked, only to find that more than half of Faubert's meridians were damaged. No wonder Faubert was in so much pain. It would be weird if he wasn't in pain with more than half of his meridians damaged. But why would Faubert's meridians be damaged and not directly break through to Earth class? Suddenly, Lin Yi remembered what happened after he was poisoned. After he was poisoned, he tried to increase his strength to mystic late phase peak, and then tried to compress qi to break through, but it failed. Compressing qi didn't help him break through, and instead it caused his meridians to explode. And before that, when Lin Yi broke through from mystic late phase to mystic late phase peak, he also tried to compress qi, but it also ended in failure. Thinking about this, Lin Yi finally understood why Faubert was injured. It turned out that compressing qi was no longer effective for mystic late phase peak to Earth class. His meridians couldn't handle the consequences of releasing the compressed qi in an instant, and it was directly damaged. And before, Lin Yi helped Faubert raise his strength from mystic early phase to mystic late phase peak, and there were no obstacles in between, so Lin Yi neglected this point. Or it could be said that Lin Yi thought that this method didn't help him break through, but it was helpful to forcefully increase the strength of others. But the result was still a failure, and this made Lin Yi a little annoyed. Faubert's damaged meridians weren't a big deal, and Lin Yi channeled the art of dragon mastery on the spot to help Faubert repair his damaged meridians. But what Lin Yi was worried about now was that he couldn't raise others to Earth class. Lin Yi's plan was to bring Lingshan, Qin Yutian, and Wu Qintian to the Noble House meeting, but now it seemed that this dream couldn't be realized. Mystic late phase peak was already a top existence in the Noble House meeting, but for a hidden Noble House it was still too weak. Target equals _blank. Chapter 1687. The Noble House meeting was already in the bag for Lin Yi. But Lin Yi's eyes were on the hidden House Yu and House Xiao. If he touched the common House Yu, would the hidden House Yu come out to help? as the in-laws of the hidden house Yu and his enemy. Would the hidden house Zhao come out as well? This was what Lin Yi was worried about the most. If Lin Yi had Ling Shan, Qin Yao, Wu Qingyao, and Faubert for Earth-class fighters, then it would be quite a shock to the hidden house Yu. At the very least, they would have to think about the consequences before touching him. As long as it wasn't their sky class, then Lin Yi and the others had the strength to fight. Faubert's meridians were fixed by Lin Yi. Faubert let out a long breath and wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. Didn't break through? Failed. Should we try again? I can hold it in. It's fine even if I fail, I can still fix it. Faubert saw the disappointment in Lin Yi's eyes and asked, No pop-up window. There's no need to try. This won't work. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. I've tried this before, trying to break through on my own, but I failed. It seems like the meridians of a mystic have a limit that can't handle such a huge amount of compressed energy. Mystic late phase peak? I'm satisfied. Faubert stretched his arms. To be honest, from the moment I was crippled to the moment I started practicing physical arts, I never thought that one day I would become a mystic late phase peak. Huh. Faubert, you don't have to comfort me. I'm just a little disappointed. Lin Yi said, but it's nothing late phase mystic then, it's about time. You rest first. I'll go back and think of something else. Okay, then you should rest early too. Faubert saw that Lin Yi was unwilling and didn't want to give up, so he didn't say much. After returning to his room, Lin Yi immediately entered the Jade Space and discussed with Zhao Yazi about breaking through from mystic late phase peak to Earth class. You've tried it so many times, and I've been watching from the side. If there was a way, why wouldn't I tell you? Zhao Yazi rolled his eyes and said, I don't have any other way, unless you become an alchemist and refine a qi-gathering pill for them. Isn't that the same as not saying anything? I haven't even crossed the threshold of an alchemist yet, and I'm still refining pills. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. Ever since I got to Earth class, I've clearly felt the difference between me and the others. People with sex and families really are different. I've been trying to figure things out on my own, but the people from the other clans and families have been training and preparing for this. But you have the jade pendant and they don't. Zhao Yazi said, That's true. Lin Yi nodded. This was the only thing he was proud of, and his final trump card. It was a secret that couldn't be revealed. Don't worry too much. The 5-year full moon is coming. When you open the second level of the stone door, perhaps you'll have an unexpected reward, Zhao Yazi said. I can only place my hopes on that. Lin Yi said, since Elder Zhao couldn't think of a way, Lin Yi had to think of a way himself. Lin Yi trained in the Jade Space as he thought of a way, but no matter how much he thought about it, he couldn't think of anything that could work. Indeed, when Lin Yi was poisoned, he'd thought of almost every possible way. Even if he thought of something now, he'd already rejected it. What other way could he come up with? If there really was a new way, Lin Yi wouldn't need to use the qi-gathering pill. The next day, Lin Yi went shopping with Meng Yao Yushu and Tang Yin before going to Qin Yuyao's hospital. Ling Shan was called to the hospital by Lin Yi as well. You're back? I heard that you went back to your hometown with Tang Yin. Ling Shan didn't know the specifics. She only knew that Lin Yi had been looking for an opportunity to break through, but she didn't hear from Lin Yi for a long time. After the case of the fake Lin Yi was finally closed, she wanted to contact Lin Yi, but her phone couldn't get through. So she called Meng Yao's house and found out that Lin Yi had gone back with Tang Yin. Lin Yi's phone couldn't get through, perhaps because the battery ran out, or because the Tang family's house was blocked. As for the specific reason, Lin Yi didn't know. Yeah, I just came back yesterday. Lin Yi said. How's the fake Lin Yi's case? I heard from Yao that you came looking for me. It's closed. We didn't get any valuable clues. That suspect is no different from an idiot. Most of the nerves in his brain have been damaged by drugs, and after the hypnotist's instructions, he's no different from an idiot. Ling Shan said helplessly, We know he's just a puppet, but we just can't find the person behind the scenes. We've got the image of the driver at the toll booth, and we've done a comparison in our database, but we can't find anything similar. This person must have had plastic surgery, just like that fake Lin Yi, so we don't have any information on him. Lin Yi shrugged. What Ling Shan said wasn't too far off from what he'd expected. Since the enemy had such a high level of skill and methods, how could they let Ling Shan find any clues and loopholes so easily? The mastermind must have hidden it a long time ago. Lin Yi guessed that it was an enemy of his that did this, but he wasn't too sure who it was. Forget it! Other than those enemies of mine, there's no one else who would be able to create a fake me. Lin Yi waved his hand. But it's fine. We'll have to face these people sooner or later. Let's face the noble house meeting first. You're right. Ling Shan nodded. Right? Grandpa called me a couple of times already, asking me what's going on with you Feng and me. He said that House Song's going to be very passive in the noble house meeting, but since it's a secret, I've been avoiding him. Grandpa's probably worried sick. I understand, but the situation's changed. I might not be able to help you guys get to Earth class. Lin Yi looked at Ling Shan and Yu Yao a little embarrassed. His words from before were still ringing in his ears, but he couldn't fulfill them now. To be continued. Target equals _blank. Chapter 1688. What? Ling Shan and Yu Yao's faces froze. Every day they'd hoped that Lin Yi would come back and raise their strength to Earth class early phase. That way, they'd be able to take the initiative in the noble house meeting and fight for a place for their house. But now that dream was shattered. They couldn't accept it, although all of this was because of Lin Yi, and without Lin Yi they wouldn't even be mystic early phase. But now they'd already had that dream, and they'd imagined the scene they'd be in during the noble house meeting. Suddenly saying that they couldn't do it would be a huge blow to anyone's heart. No pop-up window, but after the disappointment, Ling Shan and Yu Yao thought of something more important. Ling Shan looked up at Lin Yi. You didn't break through to Earth class. I did. Lin Yi sighed and channeled his practitioner's arts, showing his strength to Ling Shan and Yu Yao. But I can't bring you guys to Earth class. The method from before didn't work. I tried it with Faubert last night, and it didn't work. Ah, Ling Shan didn't know what to say, but Lin Yi breaking through to Earth class was something worth celebrating. If Lin Yi had publicly supported House Song, then House Song would still be a part of the noble house, and their position wouldn't have changed. After all, the strongest person in the noble house meeting was only House Yu's Yu Shuixing, a mystic late-phase peak. Lin Yi was one level above him, so the situation wasn't too bad. As long as you broke through, that's fine. It doesn't matter if I get my revenge with my own hands. As long as I get my revenge, I'll be happy. Yu Yao was worried that Lin Yi would feel pressured, so after a moment of disappointment, she started to persuade Lin Yi, with an Earth-class boss like you protecting us, not only can I get my revenge, but House Qin can also keep its position. This is a happy ending. Huh. Lin Yi smiled. Who said you can't get your revenge with your own hands? Revenge doesn't have to be Earth class early phase. That Yu Feng is only a mystic mid-phase. Even if he broke through recently, he wouldn't be able to surpass mystic mid-phase peak. Mystic mid-phase. That's 2 levels higher than me. If he's at the peak of mid-phase, that's 3 levels higher. I'm only at the early phase of mystic class. How can I fight him? Chen Yuyao smiled bitterly. Instructor Eagle, you're not playing with me, are you? Ling Shan was now one of Lin Yi's close friends. Not only were they close, but they also had another close relationship. So Lin Yi wouldn't hide things from her anymore. She knew about him and Huaijuan, and naturally, she knew about Yu Yao as well. Yu Yao wouldn't be too secretive in front of Ling Shan. Could it be? Ling Shan's eyes lit up as she looked at Lin Yi, pleasantly surprised. Keep talking, silly girl. Looks like you're not that dumb after all. Whether or not you can get rid of the silly girl hat will depend on your performance. Lin Yi smiled. I'm not dumb in the first place. Ling Shan rolled her eyes angrily. but she had always been a punching bag in front of Lin Yi. She didn't dare go against Lin Yi's suggestion. If she could get rid of the silly girl hat, it would be a good thing. She continued, "If I'm not wrong, you won't be able to raise us to Earth Class early phase, but you can at least raise our strength to Mystic mid-phase peak." "Not bad," Lin Yi praised as he looked at Lingshan. "You've grown some brains lately." Lingshan pouted, feeling wronged. "It's all right, but don't call me silly girl anymore. Call me cute girl." Puffed. Yu Yao was about to take a sip of water when she heard what Lingshan said. She almost choked to death. Cough, cough, cough. Cute girl? That's a good title. I was going to give it to Yao Yao or Shu. Tell me first, why do you have to be at least Mystic mid-phase peak? Lin Yi rejected Lingshan's suggestion. Because you said that Yufeng wouldn't exceed Mystic mid-phase peak. And even if he was, Yu Yao Bro would still be able to get his revenge. That means that you can at least raise us to Mystic mid-phase peak. Lingshan said proudly, "Am I right?" "That's right," Lin Yi nodded. "Your analysis is correct." "Then, am I still silly girl? Can I change it?" Lingshan was overjoyed. Her relationship with Lin Yi was one step closer, going from Miss Brain Dead to Miss Silly, and now it was going to change again. "Actually, I'm basically calling you Lingshan now. Silly girl was just joking. Don't you think that silly girl is pretty cute?" Lin Yi smiled. "That's true." Lingshan nodded after some thought. "That's what couples usually call each other. Then you can call me silly girl. As for Lingshan, just call me Shan Shan." Lingshan's a bit awkward. All right. Lin Yi didn't need to argue with Lingshan about things that didn't really matter. He knew what Lingshan was thinking, but things like this were better to let nature take its course. At least for now, he didn't have the mood to do so. "Then, what's the highest level you can raise us to?" Chen Yao asked impatiently after Lingshan and Lin Yi were done flirting with each other. "Mystic late phase peak." Lin Yi said that's the limit for now. "I'll think of another way to raise you guys to Earth Class." Mystic late phase peak, this. What's the difference between this and Earth Class early phase? Chen Yao jumped up from his chair in shock. Before, Lin Yi said that he couldn't raise them to Earth Class, and Chen Yao thought that he couldn't raise them at all. But now that he heard that he could raise them to Mystic late phase peak, he was overjoyed. In his eyes, Mystic late phase peak was already at the top of the noble houses. Once they reached Earth Class, there would be hidden houses coming to recruit them. Of course, only House Yu had an Earth Class. The other noble houses had Mystic early phase and middle phase, which was already very powerful. Like Wu Gonggao, the head of House Wu, who had Mystic mid phase, was already very powerful. As long as he didn't reach the level of a hidden house, Mystic late phase peak was already the highest level. To be continued, Baidu _salsa, target equals _blank. Chapter 1689. This was why Yu Yao was reacting like this. Earth Class was too far away from him, since it was something that only existed in legends. It was too far away from the noble houses, and Mystic late phase peak was the highest level that he could see and touch. Wondrous book room. Yeah, Mystic late phase peak. That's already the top of the common world's noble houses. Lingshan was surprised as well. Lin Yi's words meant that she could reach Mystic late phase peak as well. Aren't her goals a little too low? Above the noble houses, there's the hidden noble houses, and above them are the ancient sects and ancient noble houses. As for what's above the ancient level, we don't know yet, but there's definitely a higher level above Sky Class. Don't you guys want to pursue a higher level of martial arts? Lin Yi smiled bitterly. This Ice Palace test had broadened Lin Yi's horizons a lot. In the past, Lin Yi had thought that he'd work hard to break through to Sky Class, but he'd never been this close to a Sky Class before. When he saw Crystal Candy, Qing, and Elder Tang, Lin Yi realized that Sky Class wasn't that mysterious after all. Once upon a time, Mystic was Lin Yi's goal, because the highest level that Lin Yi could see was Mystic. Later on, Lin Yi broke through to Mystic, but Earth class entered Lin Yi's sights, and now Lin Yi's goal was Earth class. And when Lin Yi became an Earth class, he realized that Sky class wasn't that far away. At every stage, there was a goal. But if you didn't reach that level, you'd never be able to touch that level. It was like a frog in a well. If it didn't go out, it'd always think that the sky was only as big as the well. But once it went out, the world would be different. But Lingshan and Yu Yao's reactions were understandable to Lin Yi. Their current level of contact was limited to the hidden noble houses. Only the hidden noble houses and normal sects had direct contact with the ancient levels. It was too far away for the noble houses. Above Sky class. To be honest, Lingshan never thought that she'd become a Sky class one day. Lingshan's dream and goal was Mystic early phase. As long as she reached that level, she'd be able to buy time for her brother to grow up and secure their position as a noble house. But just the early phase of Mystic class was still a dream, an unreachable dream. The people of noble houses only trained to protect their status. They never thought about chasing after the Sky class like the hidden houses, chasing after immortality. But ever since she met Lin Yi, Lingshan realized that she really was a frog in a well. The things she didn't even dare to think about were realized with Lin Yi's help, and she was about to become the strongest person in the noble house, Mystic late phase peak. And that wasn't all. Lin Yi told her that she'd become a Sky class one day. Lingshan was very excited. She didn't think that she'd be this lucky, meeting such a strong man. It seemed like she had to work hard. She might be a little later than Tang Yin, Meng Yao, and Yu Shu, but she was at least one step ahead of Xiao Xiao, right? Now that Xiao Xiao was Lin Yi's small wife. She didn't even have the title of a maid. Lingshan felt that her next goal was to get a title, even if it was a lowly maid. As long as she could follow Lin Yi for the rest of her life, then Sky class wouldn't be a dream anymore. With that thought, Lingshan's eyes on Lin Yi heated up once more. She'd always looked up to strength since she was young. Otherwise, she wouldn't have set a goal that her future husband had to be stronger than her. Now, her goals seemed to have been achieved, and Lin Yi wasn't just a normal strong. He was stronger than she'd imagined. And so, after confirming that she liked Lin Yi, she lowered her standards, and the Miss of House song started to compromise. Being able to stay by Lin Yi's side was already good enough, and she didn't want Lin Yi to only have one woman by his side. There's an old saying that goes, when you're in the martial arts world, you can't do what you want. Lin Yi sighed, thinking about it, that's indeed the case. Unless you find a place to live in seclusion, you'll have to keep chasing after higher realms of martial arts, because your enemies are growing as well. If you don't move forward, what awaits you is death. You're right, Yu Yao nodded, but Sky class, I never thought about it in the past. My goal was actually to surpass Lil Sis Lingshan, and that would be the end of the world. But looking at me now, how childish was I? Even if I'm the same level as Lingshan now, I don't have any other thoughts, because my strength isn't from my own training, but from the man Lil Sis Lingshan likes. What right do I have to chase after her? So, after thinking it through, I've realized that I should find the love that truly belongs to me and not the obsession and fantasy I had when I was young. Huh. Lin Yi didn't know how to respond to Yao's words, so he only smiled. Right, Lin Yi, I'll call you boss from now onwards. Wu Qintian calls you boss so smoothly, it's a little disrespectful for me to call you by your name. Yu Yao had wanted to say this a long time ago, putting aside the fact that you were my instructor. Now that you've helped me so much, you should be my boss. What about Shu if you call me boss? Isn't that messing up the seniority? Lin Yi smiled bitterly. He knew that Yu Yao would bring this up eventually. To this, Lin Yi didn't reject it. Lin Yi wasn't one to follow rules and be humble, so when Qintian, Qikuan, and Yubing called him boss, he agreed. But when it came to Yu Yao because of Yushu, Lin Yi still treated him like a big brother. Shu, let's wait until she marries you first. Yu Yao smiled bitterly. It's not confirmed yet. Ahem. Yu Yao, what do you mean? Why are you giving your sister to Lin Yi? I didn't agree, so you're messing with me on purpose, aren't you? Ling Shan glared at Yu Yao. Haha, it's just a joke. Yu Yao smiled. All right, call me whatever you want, it's just a name. I'll raise you guys to Mystic Late Phase Peak, and with Wu Qintian, we'll go to the Noble House meeting and get justice. It's time for House Yu to pay back their blood debt. Lin Yi smiled coldly at the thought of armadillo. To be continued, Baidu __ target equals _ blank. Chapter 1690. It didn't matter what role House Yu played in the armadillo incident. Lin Yi wouldn't let them go. Even with the hidden House Yu's protection, Lin Yi was going to get justice. Lin Yi was a man who would protect his own people. The only ones who could come out unscathed after hurting him were House Yu. Wondrous book room Lin Yi's words made Ling Shan and Yu Yao's hearts tighten. It seemed like being friends with Lin Yi was the luckiest thing that had happened to them in their lifetimes. Lin Yi was famous for his loyalty to his friends and women. Ling Shan, sis, you go first. Ladies first. Yu Yao smiled. This time, it was different from breaking through to mystic. It was just a test. So, as a man, Yu Yao naturally went to the front. This time, however, there was a 100% chance of reaching mystic late phase peak. And so Yu Yao gave this chance to Ling Shan, letting her enjoy the pleasure of reaching mystic late phase peak first. I've already surpassed you once in my life, and I'm satisfied. Yu Yao was talking about the time in the tomb when Lin Yi first raised him to mystic early phase. In this life, he'd surpassed Ling Shan in that instant, and that was enough for him to let go of his grudge. Then I won't hold back. Ling Shan sat in front of Lin Yi and extended her hand to Lin Yi. Everyone was familiar with this, so Lin Yi didn't need to say much. Ling Shan was already prepared. Lin Yi didn't say much and started channeling his art of dragon mastery, sending qi into Ling Shan's body. Ling Shan frowned slightly, unable to take this amount of qi, but she gritted her teeth and persevered. There weren't many chances to level up like this. Other practitioners wouldn't even be able to level up like this. So Ling Shan didn't think that it was a big deal. Ling Shan reached mystic late phase peak without any suspense, and after her was Yu Yao. The next morning, Yu Yao also broke through to mystic late phase peak. Why do I feel like I'm dreaming? Yu Yao stood up and stretched his arms. It feels completely different. Mystic early phase and mystic late phase peak are worlds apart. Once you break through to Earth class, you'll realize that everything will be different. Lin Yi said, Boss, I noticed that you didn't seem to be affected at all after we increased our strength. You're still full of energy, isn't it a little too amazing? Chun Yao was very surprised to see the energetic Lin Yi. One had to know how much qi was needed to level up two mystic early phase practitioners to mystic late phase peak. It could be said that even if Lin Yi used up all his qi, it still wouldn't be enough. But Lin Yi did it, and his strength didn't seem to be affected at all. Yu Yao bro, let's just talk about this in private. Don't let anyone else know about it, or it'll cause a lot of trouble for Lin Yi. Ling Shan reminded Yu Yao with a serious face. I understand. Chun Yu Yao nodded solemnly and said, This is only a private conversation. How did I improve my strength? Even if you beat me to death, I won't say it. It's not that serious. If I really wanted to kill you, you'd better tell me. Lin Yi said, Remember this, no matter when. Life is the most important. As long as there's life, there's hope. There'll always be a chance for revenge. A real man knows when to yield and when to stand tall. A moment of bravery is just an ordinary man's bravery. Yu Yao was amused by Lin Yi's words. Of course, it doesn't matter if he's crippled. I can heal him. Lin Yi smiled. All right, you guys get ready. I'll go back and level up Wu Qingyao as well. We need to be there before the Noble House meeting. Okay, let's get ready. Yu Yao nodded. Speaking of which, I can't hold it in anymore. I want to kill that Yu Feng right now. If it wasn't for Boss, I'd be crippled for life. As they were talking, Ling Shan's phone rang. She was afraid that it would affect Lin Yi's leveling up, so she turned it off. Not long after, a call came in. It was still early in the morning, and she didn't know what it was. Lingshan frowned when she saw the caller ID. It was Elder Song Xiangwen, who was at home. "Hello, Grandpa, what's up?" Lingshan didn't have a choice. She had no choice but to pick up the phone. She couldn't leak the fact that she was going to take revenge on Yu Feng. Otherwise, it'd be troublesome if House Yu got help from the hidden House Yu. She had to do something unexpected to achieve the effect she wanted. And so she kept brushing Elder Song off. "What's up? What are you talking about? The Noble House meeting is about to start. Are you coming back or not? Why don't you tell me? After you level up, does that mean I won't be your grandpa anymore?" One couldn't blame Xiangwen for being angry. House Song was in an awkward position right now, and House Yu was forcing their way in. Not only did they ask Old Song if he still wanted the marriage, but they also asked Old Chen if there was anything going on between Lingshan and Qin Yao, turning House Qin from the victim to the one in the wrong. Of course, in a noble house, the one with the strongest fist was the one with the right. Facing House Yu, who had a strong backing, House Song and House Qin didn't dare say anything, but they knew that in this meeting young Master Gu would be the one to suffer the most. "Grandpa, I'll definitely go to the Noble House meeting and give you an explanation, but right now I really can't go back," Lingshan said as she looked at Yu Yao and Lin Yi. "Then what's your decision on the marriage with Yu Feng? Do you agree or not?" Elder Song said sternly, "Grandpa, didn't I tell you already? I already have someone I like. I won't marry Yu Feng." Lingshan said firmly as she looked at Lin Yi, blushing, "You child, how can you be so stubborn? Do you know what kind of consequences this decision of yours will bring to our Song family?" Elder Song was pissed. "House Yu's already hinted to me that if you marry Yu Feng, they'll let bygones be bygones. Of course, that's under the condition that you're still a virgin, or there'll be no way to resolve this." "Oh, then I wouldn't be a virgin a long time ago," Lingshan said. "I've already met the person I like." To be continued, Baidu __ target equals _blank. Chapter 1691. Chapter 1692. Bad News. Lingshan thought that she wasn't lying. She and Lin Yi had met before, but that was under special circumstances. Actually, nothing had happened between the two. "You." Elder Song was seething with anger. "Are you telling the truth? Are you trying to kill our Song family? Why can't you think about the bigger picture? I've been supporting House Song for so many years, and now it's all gone." "Grandpa, I don't think I've done anything wrong," Lingshan argued. "First of all, you didn't ask for my permission to get engaged, and I really don't like Yu Feng. Even if I didn't have someone I liked, I wouldn't marry him. Yu Tian is my friend, my big brother. He got injured by Yu Feng, and I'm still marrying him. Aren't you trying to frame me?" Oh. Old Song went silent after hearing Lingshan's words. Lingshan's words weren't unreasonable, and Xiangwen wasn't an old fool either. But things had come to this, and there was no turning back. If Lingshan didn't marry Yu Feng, there would be no turning back. House, you would definitely cause trouble for them in this noble house meeting. "Grandpa, actually, if that's the case, we can work with House Chen to fight against House Yu. We might still have a chance," Lingshan hinted. She couldn't say anything else. "House Qin? How are we supposed to work together? House Qin only has Qin Yutian, and he's already a cripple." Xiangwen sighed. This time, House Qin can't even take care of themselves. It's useless to ally with him. Don't think that he can escape this disaster just because he has a marriage contract with an ancient sect. We don't even know if that marriage contract is valid or not. Xiangwen sighed. Perhaps. Maybe House Qin has other allies? Lingshan said, forcing herself to continue hinting. Other allies? With House Chen's current strength, how could they have other allies? Xiangwen paused, not understanding what his granddaughter was saying. Shan, why do I feel like there's more to your words? It's nothing much. I just feel that everything has its own will. Maybe things will turn around? Lingshan said. All right, Grandpa, let's talk later. I need to work here. There's a lot of stuff going on. Song Xiangwen sighed helplessly. It looked like the Song family was definitely going to be removed from the list of aristocratic families. Lingshan shrugged after hanging up. Can't help it. I guess I'll have to hide this from Grandpa for now. Aren't I the same? Now, my grandpa has lost all hope. He's waiting for house-use trouble during the meeting of the noble houses. Yu Tian sighed and clenched his fist. House you, Yufeng. Just you wait. I'll wash away this humiliation. Don't worry, you will. Lin Yi patted Yu Tian's shoulder. I'll leave first. Oh, right. There's something I forgot to tell you guys. It's bad news. Do you guys want to hear it? Bad news? What's the bad news? Yu Tian and Lingshan asked, shocked. I wanted to tell you guys after the meeting, but I didn't want you guys to waste your energy on useless stuff, so I decided to tell you guys now. Lin Yi said, What bad news is it? Lingshan asked, Something to do with the noble house meeting? That's not right. You said you could tell us after the meeting. The bad news is that you guys can't train on your own anymore. Lin Yi said regretfully, Can't train on our own. Lingshan paused before remembering something. You're saying that there's no use in training on our own, right? That's right, that's it. Lin Yi nodded. The energy I've transferred into your bodies is too pure, and it's causing you to reject the energy in the natural world. So, the energy in the natural world has no effect on you. Even if you continue to train, it'll be useless unless you go to a place where the energy is abnormally abundant. But it's hard to find a place like that. No wonder, so that's why. Lingshan said, enlightened. I told you before that my training doesn't seem to make any progress at all, so that's why. Yes, you said it last time, and I didn't pay much attention to it, but I found out later. Lin Yi said, From now on, you'll have to wait for me to level up before I help you guys level up, or I'll make pills for you after I learn alchemy. Alchemy? You want to learn alchemy? Lingshan and Yu Tian paused at the same time. They hadn't interacted with alchemists before, but they were from noble houses after all. They knew that alchemists were an extremely noble profession, and it was very rare. And Lin Yi wanted to learn alchemy. I just have the intention, but I haven't succeeded yet. Lin Yi smiled. Lingshan and Yu Tian couldn't help but admire Lin Yi. He really had the guts to dream. Lin Yi was already strong enough right now, and if he became a refiner, wouldn't all the ancient sects have to suck up to Lin Yi? They heard that alchemists were very popular even in the ancient sects. If Lin Yi really became an elixir refiner, then the Hidden House's crisis would be easily solved. He believed that at that time there would be many ancient sects willing to stand up for Lin Yi, begging him to make elixirs for them. It doesn't matter if we train or not. We'll train for a few years on our own, and it won't be as much as what you've done in a short amount of time. So the drawback you mentioned isn't really a drawback to us. Yu Tian smiled. Boss, we'll be relying on you for the rest of our lives. Yeah, this saves me a lot of trouble. I'll just sit back and enjoy the fruits of your labor, Lingshan said. My dream is to find a strong man to protect me, and now that I've found one, I don't need to train anymore. Haha, I'll go back first. See you later. Lin Yi didn't reply to Lingshan and quickly walked out of the room. Old Wu of House Wu Gonggao, was in the same bad mood as Song Xiangwen, but the reason for Gonggao's bad mood was different from the two of them. Qintian was heavily injured because of Lin Yi's woman. After calling him once, there was no more news, and Gonggao didn't dare call to ask. Target equals _blank. Chapter 1692. He was afraid that Qintian would take things too hard, so he resisted the urge to ask about his injury. He planned to let Qintian calm down and think things through before returning to the house. However, the noble house meeting was about to start, and no matter what, Gong Gao had to give his grandson, Wu Qintian, a call. In the past noble house meetings, Gong Gao had always brought his grandson, Wu Qintian, along. Qintian was his pride back then, and he was one of the stronger ones among the younger generation. No pop-up window but this year, he could only bring Qintian along. He was afraid that Qintian would feel uncomfortable, so he wanted to bring Qintian along as well. Gong Gao had high hopes for Qintian, but Qintian, on the other hand, wasn't very fond of him. Even with Qintian's injury, Qintian still wasn't favored. He was just valued a little more by Gong Gao, but he wasn't like Qintian, who could spend a lot of money. His pocket money was still pitifully small. Of course, there was a reason why Gong Gao didn't like Qintian. Before leaving for the noble house meeting, Gong Gao called Qintian's phone. "Grandpa." Qintian didn't expect his grandpa to call at this time. He'd been afraid that his grandpa would call to ask about his injury, and he really couldn't talk to him about it. Lin Yi told him to keep it a secret, so he could only keep it a secret, even in front of his grandpa. But his grandpa didn't call after that, and Qintian breathed a sigh of relief. What he didn't expect was that this call would come right before the noble house meeting, and so Qintian asked carefully, "Grandpa, what's up?" "Qintian, how have you been lately? Are you all right?" Gong Gao's heart ached when he heard Qintian's careful voice. He thought that Qintian had lost his strength and was afraid of losing his love for him. "Qintian, you're a physical practitioner, so don't be discouraged. It's okay if your meridians are injured. As long as your hands aren't injured, you can still use House Wu's Iron Fist arts. As for your meridians, I'll get someone to ask for a meridian unblocking pill for you. Grandpa?" "Aye." Qintian didn't expect his grandpa to say that, and his heart ached even more. He wanted to tell Gong Gao that he was fine, that he had recovered, that he was a mystic early phase, and that he was about to reach mystic late phase peak. However, his rationality prevented him from doing so. He knew that if he didn't say it now, his grandfather would only be sad for a short period of time. But if he said it, it would affect Lin Yi's important matters. "All right, Qintian. Don't be sad, don't be discouraged. The noble house meeting is about to begin. Do you want to go with me?" Wu Gong Gao asked. "Aye." Qintian didn't know how to answer. "It's fine. I'll bring Wu Qindi with me this time. Why don't you come too? With Grandpa here, no one will laugh at you." Gong Gao said, "No matter what, I'm still a mystic mid-phase, and I'm one of the top of the noble houses." "Thank you, Grandpa, but I won't be going for now." Qintian could only say that. "All right, don't think too much and don't feel pressured." Gong Gao said, "Then I'll hang up first. Rest well." "All right, but Grandpa, don't worry, I won't let you down. I'll be your pride, and remember my words. I'll do what I say." Qintian couldn't say too much, so he could only hint. "Haha, I'll remember that. I'll wait for that day to come." Gong Gao smiled. It seemed like Qintian's attitude was quite good, and this made him feel at ease. He was afraid that Qintian wouldn't be able to hold on and do something extreme. But now he seemed to have regained his confidence. After hanging up, Qintian let out a breath of relief and looked at Lin Yi. "Boss, come, I want to level up, I want strength. I'll shine in this noble house meeting, and let House Wu become one of the top noble houses. Come." Lin Yi smiled and put his hand on Qintian's meridians, channeling the art of dragon mastery. Qintian, on the other hand, quickly started channeling his own practitioner's arts as well. These few days, Sun Jingyi wasn't having a good time either. After House Sun found out about Qintian's injury, naturally, they didn't want to marry Sun Jingyi to Qintian anymore. The old head of House Sun had mentioned this to Gong Gao, and although Gong Gao was angry, he didn't say anything. He knew that marrying Sun Jingyi to a cripple like Qintian was making things difficult for him, and he seemed to have heard from Qintian that Sun Jingyi had an ambiguous relationship with his boss, Lin Yi, so Gong Gao didn't mind it too much. At this time, even if he couldn't marry House Sun, it wasn't a good idea to make an enemy out of them. Gong Gao's compromise made the old head of House Sun a little embarrassed, and he agreed to help Gong Gao during the meeting. As a result, Gong Gao felt that this was a good deal. He didn't mention this to Qin Tian at all, because Qin Tian had already said that he gave up on pursuing Sun Jingyi. What was the point of bringing this up? And so, Gong Gao got a great deal for free. Although Gong Gao wasn't in a good mood about Qin Tian's injury, he was able to keep his cool during the meeting. At first, when House Sun told Sun Jingyi about the cancellation of the marriage with Qin Tian, Sun Jingyi wasn't happy. After all, Qin Tian had already given up on her and became Lin Yi's follower, so Sun Jingyi didn't care about the marriage at all. Of course, this wasn't the main problem. The main problem was that House Sun wanted to marry Sun Jingyi off to another noble house for the benefit of House Sun. Jingyi, I've already signed up a spot for you in this year's aristocratic clan meeting. Come with me to the aristocratic clan meeting. See if there are any young talents there, and I'll help you find a husband. It was the old head of House Sunday. This time, in order to get Sun Jingyi to return to House Sun, he called personally. Grandpa, I've already told my family that I have a boyfriend, someone I like. I want to live my own life. Please don't force me anymore. I don't care about wealth. I just want to live a peaceful life. Sun Jingyi hesitated and refused. I don't want to be a sacrifice for the marriage. Target equals _blank. Chapter 1693. Bulsh *T. You're a member of House Sun. How can your marriage be decided so casually? Besides, who said that you're a sacrifice? You're a practitioner of the first stage of House Sun's art. Do you know how important your strength is? You're the target of all the big houses. As long as you agree, you can become the young mistress of House Yu. Elder Sun panicked after hearing Sun Jingyi's words. No pop-up window. I don't want to be the young mistress. I just want to live a peaceful life. What's so good about a noble house? Didn't my parents die because of sex and noble houses? Sun Jingyi wasn't interested in her grandfather's suggestion. I just want to be a normal person. And I've proven to you that I have the ability to support myself. I have my own company, my own business, in a place without the influence of my family. Cough. You're trying to piss me off. Elder Sun started coughing violently after hearing Sun Jingyi's words. Grandpa, what's wrong? Sun Jingyi was shocked and asked hesitantly. Jingyi, tell me the truth. I think I'm at the end of my lifespan, and I don't have many years left. Elder Sun sighed, his words filled with helplessness. So, there are some things that I have to make arrangements in advance. Otherwise, House Sun will be in danger. What? Grandpa, your body. Weren't you still very healthy the last time I saw you? Sun Jingyi hated her uncle's family. Her uncle was the one who suggested the marriage with House Wu, and her grandfather didn't force Sun Jingyi. So, although Sun Jingyi didn't like House Sun, she still had some feelings for her grandfather. When she was young, only her younger brother, Sun Yikai, and elder Sun treated Sun Jingyi well. The others thought that Sun Jingyi was an outsider, not a part of House Sunday. The last time you saw Grandpa was 2 years ago, right? Old Man Sun said with a bitter smile. Aye. Sun Jingyi's heart suddenly ached. Jingyi, I've never forced you to get married. You should know that when the Wu family came to propose, I just told you to get along. I didn't promise anything. Old Man Sun said, among the children of the third generation, although I won't say it, I actually dote on you the most. When you were young, you should know that when your older brother, you and your younger brother got into trouble, I scolded them. I know. Sun Jingyi said quietly. However, you have to know that you are a child of the Sun family. This is an unchangeable fact. As for your marriage, I can give you a certain amount, but it must be an appropriate match. Old Man Sun said, the marriage between the aristocratic families is something that every family does. This can't be changed. Think about it. If you marry a man of humble origin, how can you go back to the Sun family in the future? How can you face the other aristocratic families in the future? My boyfriend is actually very powerful. Although he's not from an aristocratic family, he's still a swordsman. Son Jingyi listened to her grandfather's words and had no choice but to use Lin Yi as a shield. No matter how powerful a swordsman is, it's useless without the support of a family. You're talking about a rogue cultivator, right? Old Man Sun said. Actually, you can say that I'm overbearing or unreasonable, but I will never agree to you marrying a swordsman without any power. This is not only related to the future of the Sun family, but it's also related to your own happiness. My own happiness. I know. Besides, he's really powerful. Sun Jingyi argued. No matter how powerful he is, how powerful can he be? Could it be that he's a mystic class master? Old Man Sun asked back. You have to know that only when a rogue cultivator reaches mystic class can they barely gain the respect of the aristocratic families. However, in the eyes of the hidden houses, they're just some thugs and lackeys. Their status is far lower than the aristocratic families. So, Jingyi, just treat this as my last request before I die. I won't ask you to marry into House Yu, but you should at least marry someone from one of the aristocratic families, right? Grandpa, I think he's a mystic class master. Sun Jingyi said helplessly. Besides, he seems to be very skilled in medicine. Can you let him take a look at your illness? Oh, mystic class? Old Man Sun paused. He was just saying it casually, but he didn't expect that Sun Jingyi's boyfriend was actually a mystic class master. Although a rogue cultivator of mystic class wasn't as important as a golden class master in the eyes of the hidden houses, but a mystic class master was a very powerful existence in the eyes of the aristocratic families. Old Man Sun thought even further. If Sun Jingyi's boyfriend was really a mystic class master, then if he agreed to marry into House Sun, then House Sun would gain a mystic class master out of thin air. This meant a lot to House Sun. House Sun was a family that focused on healing, so they didn't have any combat masters in the family. It was a good thing to have a combat master. This would bring more benefits than marriage with other families. Yes, he's a mystic class master. Sun Jingyi bit the bullet and said, she was talking about Lin Yi, but Lin Yi actually had nothing to do with her. If that's the case, then I'll give you a chance. Bring him back to House Sunday. If what you said is true, then let him attend the meeting of the aristocratic families with us. Having a mystic class master is also a good chance for House Sun to show our face. Old Man Sun said, of course, the premise is that he must agree to marry into House Sun, huh? Old Man Sun's first condition was enough to put Sun Jingyi in a difficult position. Bring Lin Yi home, and to attend the meeting of the aristocratic families? Would Lin Yi agree? Now, she wanted Lin Yi to marry into House Sun Jingyi's family. She might as well just kill Jingyi and be done with it. What? You're not making it up, are you? Old Man Sun heard Sun Jingyi's puzzled voice and frowned. That's not it. It's fine to meet him. But can it wait? I don't want to make our relationship public for the time being. Besides, he won't agree to marry into House Sun Jingyi's family. After all, he's also a mystic class master. Sun Jingyi said with a bitter face, I've already given you the chance. This is my bottom line. Old Man Sun said, if he joins our House Sun, then our House Sun will increase in strength. Then I can still accept it. But if he only marries you, then you'll belong to him. It's better to find a big family to marry into. By I do understand target equals _blank. Chapter 1694. I'll try. Sun Jingyi said helplessly, I'll ask him first. Okay, I'll wait for your news. But if he doesn't agree, or if he's not a mystic class master, then please forget about it. Elder Sun said, Jingyi, you should know that if I leave, House Sun won't have a good life. I understand. Sun Jingyi sighed. Dekank no pop-up window, I'll wait for your news, Elder Sun said. Then, Grandpa, please take care of yourself. Sun Jingyi suddenly remembered some of her childhood memories. Although her grandpa was a domineering and strict person, although he was a bit of a male chauvinist, he was really good to her. Don't worry, although my body isn't good, I can still hold on for a year or two and watch you guys get married. Elder son said, although her grandpa asking her to marry someone else seemed a bit unreasonable, he gave her a choice. It was much better than those parents who directly decided their children's marriage. But how was son Jingyi going to ask Lin Yi? Pretending to be a boyfriend was fine for Wu Qintian, but if she lied to her grandpa, would he be able to see through it? Sun Jingyi was very conflicted. She had no choice but to call Lin Yi. Hello. Not long after Lin Yi helped Qintian increase his strength, Sun Jingyi called. Lin Yi smiled and picked up, looking for the great thief. Lin Yi, I have something urgent to talk to you about. Can you come? Sun Jingyi smiled bitterly. She wasn't in the mood to joke around with Lin Yi. It was too sudden. If Lin Yi didn't agree to go back with her, what would she do? Now, Lin Yi didn't know why Sun Jingyi was looking for him so urgently, but he wanted to calm down and study martial arts. It seemed like he couldn't do that for now. Yes, now is that okay? Sun Jingyi said anxiously. It's really urgent. Okay, where are you? I'll be right there. Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi weren't too close, but they were closer than normal friends. It was only because Qintian became Lin Yi's follower and stopped harassing Sun Jingyi that Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi slowly drifted apart. It's noon. Let me treat you to lunch. We can talk while we eat. I know a Six Taste House. It's a new chain. I heard the food is good? Jingyi asked. It's behind Songshan's first school. You'll see it when you get here. It's a big sign. Okay, I'll go now. Lin Yi replied. Lin Yi put the martial arts book on the table and said goodbye to Mingyao and Yushu before driving to the Six Taste House. At the entrance of the Six Taste House, Lin Yi saw Sun Jingyi's red Audi A4L. It seemed like Sun Jingyi had arrived before him. Lin Yi parked the car and walked into the Six Taste House. A waiter walked over. Sir, are you alone or do you have a reservation? Before this, did a lady with the surname Sun book a private room? Lin Yi didn't know if Sun Jingyi greeted the waiter or not. May I know your name, sir? The waiter didn't answer and asked with a smile. My surname is Lin, Lin Yi said. A lady Sun Jingyi booked a private room. Sir, please come with me. The waiter confirmed Lin Yi's identity before saying. Lin Yi nodded and felt that the service of this shop was not bad. The protection of the customers was also quite in place. He followed the waiter to the door of a private room. The waiter made a pleased gesture to Lin Yi and opened the door for Lin Yi. So fast! Sun Jingyi had just arrived, and she was a little surprised to see Lin Yi arrive so soon. You said it was urgent. How can I not be fast? Lin Yi didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Why? You're not in a hurry anymore. No, but it's not that it's very urgent. Sun Jingyi was a little embarrassed. But it seems that the call of my lover is still very powerful. Lover? You still have the nerve to say that? When there's something, you treat me as a lover. When there's nothing, you don't even have a phone call. Lin Yi smiled. Moreover, I said that I'm a lover, but I didn't get any benefits at all. Until now, let alone a kiss, we didn't even hold hands. Isn't it a bit too sad? Okay, half a lover. It's just a fake, the kind of nominal. At most, if you make me fall in love with you, I can give you some benefits. Sun Jingyi looked at Lin Yi affectionately and blinked her eyes. Come on, I don't believe it. Don't lie to me. Benefits? Instead of wasting time with you, it's better to go home and hug Tang Yin. Lin Yi shrugged. He didn't fall for Sun Jingyi's temptation at all. I was fooled by you in the past. Do you expect me to be fooled again? In other words, the same trick doesn't work on practitioners. Right, what's your strength now? Sun Jingyi heard Lin Yi mention practitioners. She suddenly thought of something and quickly asked. Why? Why are you suddenly asking this? After hearing Sun Jingyi's words, Lin Yi became alert. It wasn't that Lin Yi didn't trust Sun Jingyi, but this was a critical time. The noble house meeting was about to begin. Lin Yi and the people around him had to be kept a secret. Otherwise, if House Yu found a hidden House Yu, it would be troublesome. And Sun Jingyi was from House Sunday. So Lin Yi had to be careful. Although Lin Yi didn't have much contact with Sun Jingyi, his instincts told him that Sun Jingyi wouldn't harm him. He was afraid that Sun Jingyi would be used by other houses. After all, Wu Qintian and Sun Jingyi's relationship was well known. If someone wanted to find out about Wu Qintian, they might start from Sun Jingyi. Lin Yi had to be careful. Of course it's useful. Just tell me when I ask. Sun Jingyi didn't notice the change in Lin Yi's expression. She flipped through the menu and said, "Isn't it the same as before? Don't you know?" Lin Yi asked, "Mystic? Middle phase?" Jingyi wasn't too sure, since she didn't remember much of it. She was just surprised that Lin Yi was a practitioner as well, since House Sun's training was the unconventional type. Jingyi wasn't as sensitive to the difference in strength levels as other practitioners, and more or less. Lin Yi said ambiguously, "Let's not talk about this. Why did you call me here? Target equals _blank. Chapter 1695. I heard that the dishes in the House of Six Tastes are all created by the owner himself, and it's said that there aren't more than 6 seasons: soy sauce, vinegar, salt, sugar, MSG, and chili. But the taste is very good," Jingyi said as she introduced the place. "This place wasn't here before, it's just a chain. I've been wanting to try it for a long time, but I never had the time. There were too many things to do at the company," Jingyi said as she introduced the place. "You're the Miss of House Sun now. Why are you so tired?" Lin Yi said, "How's the company?" "Right, Wu Qintian has a company that's dying. Do you want to take it over?" "Everything is ready. The only thing missing is a manager." "Miss, he." Sun Jingyi's smile was sour, and she changed the topic. "Wu Qintian's company? I can give it to him, but is he willing?" "Him? Didn't he start that company just to put on an act in front of you? Did he want to attract your attention? Now that he's my follower, he doesn't want to do anything to you. So naturally the company is in ruins," Lin Yi said. "It's Xiao family, Xiao Wangba and Xiao Wangdao. Those 2 idiots. Wu Qintian doesn't care." "That's good." Sun Jingyi heard that Qintian was taken in as a follower by Lin Yi, and her eyes flashed with surprise. "Right, I wanted to ask you last time. Why did Qintian call you boss? Is it because you're stronger than him?" No matter what, Qintian was still the young master of House Wu. Even if he was crippled, there was no need for him to call a freelancer Lin Yi boss, right? And it seemed that he did it before he was crippled. And the reason he was crippled was because he was protecting Lin Yi's woman? Sun Jingyi felt that this was a little suspicious. Qintian looked a little dumb, but he was an extremely arrogant person. If it wasn't for Lin Yi, he wouldn't have lowered himself to be Qintian's follower, and he wouldn't have protected Lin Yi's woman at the cost of being crippled. Of course, there's another reason. I helped him. Lin Yi didn't lie to Sun Jingyi. He did help Qintian level up. Although Lin Yi was familiar with Sun Jingyi, he still kept his guard up. Their relationship wasn't at the point where they could talk about anything. "I see." Jingyi didn't ask much, since she had something important to tell him. She didn't really care about Qintian's situation. Can you pretend to be my boyfriend again?" "I've been pretending, haven't I?" Lin Yi smiled bitterly. "Then can you come home with me?" Sun Jingyi asked. "Wah." Lin Yi's eyes widened and he almost jumped up. "Go home? With you?" Qintian was crippled, and my grandpa used this reason to cancel the marriage with House Wu. But he still wanted me to marry a man from a noble house. But I told Grandpa that I already have a boyfriend, and he's also a practitioner, a mystic class master. Sun Jingyi briefly told Lin Yi about her conversation with her grandpa, so Grandpa wants to see you, and he wants you to be his son-in-law. Lin Yi spat out a mouthful of tea. Going home with Sun Jingyi was enough of a headache for Lin Yi, and now he wanted to be his son-in-law? What the hell? Ugh, I know this is very difficult for you, but I have no other choice. I'm helpless. Anyway, it's fake. You just have to suffer a little. Sun Jingyi looked at Lin Yi pitifully. I don't believe your expression. You're always fooling people. Lin Yi wiped his mouth and said, From the first time I saw you, you've been fooling me. All right, I'll tell you the truth. This will bring you some trouble, but I really don't have a choice. Jingyi smiled bitterly, a lonely expression on her face. I'm actually an anomaly in House Sun, an outsider. I changed my surname to Sun, but I've never truly assimilated into the Sun family. Grandpa sympathized with my background and treated me very well when I was young, but that made me a thorn in my uncle's side. The eldest son of the direct line of descent didn't get as much love from Grandpa as someone with an outsider surname like me, and so they wanted me to get married a long time ago, using me as a tool to benefit the family. Lin Yi had a rough understanding of Sun Jingyi's background, and seeing her true feelings, he couldn't help but sigh. Your background is very pitiful, but you don't have to pretend in front of me, because I see you as a friend. Yeah, actually I'm not pretending. Sun Jingyi said, I'm just used to it sometimes, but I can guarantee that what I told you today is the truth, and I'm not fooling you. Hee, then they want you to marry Wu Qintian? Now they want you to marry someone else, so you use me as a shield? Lin Yi asked. That's it. Sun Jingyi nodded. Then have you ever thought that this isn't a long-term solution? What if it's exposed? I can't always be at your beck and call, right? Lin Yi said, and a son-in-law. Even if it's fake, how can I bear it? Whether it's a son-in-law or not, I don't think it's important. Sun Jingyi said, as long as you can make Grandpa approve of you, it's fine. Approve of me? I'm just afraid that after he approves of me, the fake will become real. Lin Yi thought more, because now that Lin Yi was an Earth-class master, if he really showed his strength in front of Grandpa Sun, then even if he didn't become a son-in-law, Grandpa Sun would probably be willing. But the key problem now was that the relationship between Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi was fake. It wasn't real. You still have confidence. Sun Jingyi smiled, and suddenly remembered a very important thing. Right, my grandpa's body doesn't seem to be very good. Can you help him take a look? Yes, but after seeing it, I'm afraid that he will approve of me. What about the future? Have you ever thought about it? Lin Yi asked. The future? Naturally, we'll talk about the future. If it doesn't work, then I'll just marry you. Sun Jingyi smiled. You're tricking me again, Lin Yi said. No, I mean it, Sun Jingyi said. At least, compared to those I don't know, I'm familiar with you. Marrying you is better than marrying them. Then what about Tang Yin and Xiao Xiao? Lin Yi asked. I'll be the eldest, and they'll be the second? Sun Jingyi said. No matter what, I'm the eldest miss of House Sun. I can't be the second, right? Target equals _blank. Chapter 1696. Ha ha ha. Lin Yi smiled. Maybe you won't say that now that you know Xiao Xiao's identity. Xiao Xiao's identity? Sun Jingyi paused. Her body is very special, and the sect master has taken a liking to her. She's going to be the next master of the Ice Palace. Lin Yi said. What? Jingyi jumped in fright. She'd heard of the Ice Palace before, and vaguely knew about the Ice Palace's trial, but that was too far away for the noble houses. The more distant it was, the more shocked she was. Feng Xiao Xiao was going to be the sect master of the ancient sect? Compared to that, her identity as the Miss of House Sun was a joke. Plus, Xiao Xiao isn't going to be the main wife. She's still the second wife. Lin Yi said. I was just joking. Sun Jingyi felt a little down, and an awkward smile appeared on her face. Plus, this news from Lin Yi was too much of a shock to her. Xiao Xiao was the future master of the Ice Palace? Keep this a secret, don't tell anyone. Lin Yi wanted to test Sun Jingyi's character, so he told her something that didn't seem important at the moment. Xiao Xiao's matter didn't affect Lin Yi's plan at all. And even if it got out, the hidden house, you would be even more worried. But this was something that Lin Yi didn't want to do unless he had to. After all, his own strength was the most important, and using the ice palace as an excuse was fine. It was fine to use it once or twice to save his life, but it wouldn't be that useful if it got out. Xiao Xiao was the future master of the ice palace, but that was the future. She wasn't the person right now. She was just a golden class early phase, and the future was full of variables. Who knew what it would be like? Moreover, Lin Yi was a person who didn't like to rely on others, especially a heaven stage girl. If Lin Yi always used her name to swindle people outside, then this girl would definitely laugh at him. Don't worry, I understand. I won't say it out loud. Jingyi nodded solemnly. But wouldn't it increase your reputation if I told people about this? Yeah, right. Lin Yi nodded. I don't want to rely on women. Lin Yi didn't explain too much. In fact, Lin Yi didn't mind relying on Xiao Xiao because she was Lin Yi's woman, but Rock Candy was different. Lin Yi didn't want to rely on her. Then you've promised me? Sun Jingyi said, Grandpa said that he wants me to bring you to participate in the aristocratic clan assembly. I was just about to talk about that. I wanted to wait until after the aristocratic clan assembly. But since you're going too, then that's perfect. Perhaps you'll see me there. Lin, he said, I'll go with someone else to the aristocratic clan assembly as well. Someone else? Wu Qintian? Sun Jingyi asked. N. Lin Yi nodded. That's fine. Then we'll meet at the aristocratic clan assembly. Sun Jingyi breathed out in relief, as if a wish had been fulfilled. But you don't have to worry too much. As long as Grandpa's illness is cured, then I'll be at ease. When I leave House Sun, there won't be too much pressure. Oh, you're planning to leave House Sun? Lin Yi looked at Sun Jingyi's disappointed face and couldn't help but ask. He wasn't someone who liked to meddle in other people's business, but he liked to meddle in the business of his friends. And this time, if it wasn't for Grandpa saying that his body wasn't too good recently, and that he might not be able to hold on for long, I wouldn't have agreed to this. Sun Jingyi said sadly, Sigh, I haven't been back to House Sun for almost 2 years. Who'll be in charge of House Sun in the future? Is it your brother Sun Yikai or your uncle Sun? Lin Yi suddenly asked. And Sun Jingyi paused, not knowing why Lin Yi would ask such a question. But she still said, that's not for sure. Until now, Grandpa hasn't said anything about letting uncle take over House Sun. Then I understand, said Lin Yi faintly. If Sun Yikai takes over House Sun, will you be happier and have less pressure? And he has a good relationship with me since we were young, said Sun Jingyi. But I still want to leave House Sunday. After this matter is over, I want to go back to my hometown and see my parents' former residence. Although it's probably ruined, I still want to go and have a look. I understand. My impression of Sun Yikai is also good. Lin Yi nodded. He already had a plan in his heart. If the Sun family's old man was sensible and let Sun Yikai inherit House Sun, then in this family meeting, Lin Yi would let House Sun keep its position. As for other families that weren't close to Lin Yi, he would just let them get lost. Do you have time at that time? Can you accompany me? Sun Jingyi didn't know why she suddenly asked this question. She didn't mean anything else. She just felt a little lonely, especially when she was going far away. If there was a companion, it would be a lot more relaxing. She had almost no real friends, except Lin Yi. Let's talk about it then. Lin Yi saw Sun Jingyi's loneliness, so he didn't directly refuse. Okay, that's a promise. You can't shirk it at that time. Sun Jingyi's eyes flashed a trace of slyness. When did I promise? Lin Yi was stunned. Then you didn't promise? Sun Jingyi asked back. Lin Yi didn't know whether to laugh or cry. I'm afraid I won't have time. If I have time, I'll accompany you. Time's like it's just a squeeze. Jingyi said. Then squeeze for me. Lin Yi's eyes unconsciously moved to Sun Jingyi's collar. I don't need to squeeze, but if you want to see. Not now. I'll show you when you become an official lover. Sun Jingyi said, "Then I won't look. I have a big chest at home. I can look any time." Lin said, "Pervert." Sun Jingyi said, "Me? Pervert?" Lin pointed at his nose, not sure if he should laugh or cry. This was the first time someone called him a pervert. He didn't seem to be very perverted. After lunch, Lin returned to House Chu's villa. While Yu Tian, Ling Shan, and Qin Tian were getting ready, he started practicing the technique Faubert gave him. At the same time, the heads of the noble houses brought their disciples to Yanjing, where House Yu was, to attend the noble house meeting. Of course, the most active was House Kong. Target equals _blank. Chapter 1697. Dr. Kong had heard about what happened between House Song and House Qin. From what he could see, House Song might not be able to do much in this noble house meeting, but House Qin would definitely be removed from the list of noble houses. And so, Dr. Kong brought Kong Guifeng to Yanjing's House Yu as soon as he could, preparing to discuss the matter of becoming a noble house with House Yu. Becoming a member of a noble house had always been Dr. Kang's dream, and this was a chance for House Kong. Dr. Kong was determined to get it. In the reception hall of House Yu, Shueishing received Dr. Kong and Kong Guifeng. "This isn't the first time we've met, and I know why you two are here." Shueishing looked at Dr. Kong and Kong Guifeng, not beating around the bush. "But if you two want to become a noble house, shouldn't you show some sincerity? That, naturally, we won't let House Yu help us for nothing. We, House Kong, will become the strongest supporter of House Yu in the future. Plus, our Dr. Kong Medical Group sales network will be given to House Yu after the agency contract expires." Kong Guifeng said. This was the chip he'd thought of a long time ago, and it was the only chip House Kong could take out right now. "That, isn't it a bit too little?" Shueishing said. "Mr. Kong, support is just empty words. As for the sales network, as far as I know, with Miracle Dr. Guan's company's competition, your company's sales have been declining. I don't think there's much profit to be made, right?" That Kong Guifeng's face reddened. Indeed, what Shueishing said was Kong Guifeng's weakness, but House Kong didn't have many chips. With Miracle Dr. Guan's company's competition, House Kong was no longer the same as before. They didn't have money, and they didn't have good products. Even if House Kong became a noble house, they wouldn't have the advantage they had at the auction. Ahem. Dr. Kong was an old fox. He coughed and lowered his voice. "Since House Yu says so, then I'll give you a piece of news. But since House Kong wants to become a strong supporter of House Yu, then Mr. Yu, please don't betray us." "Oh? What is it?" Shueishing's interest was piqued by Dr. Kang's mysterious words. "Recently, House Kong has been researching the recipe for the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing, and I believe we'll have progress very soon. Once we succeed, then House Kang's position. I'm sure you understand, House Yu," Dr. Kong said. "I can guarantee that all the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing made in the future will be given to House Yu first. What do you think of this bargaining chip, House Yu? So you're saying that it's not done yet?" Shueishing was quite cool. He didn't let Dr. Kang's words get to his head. "Naturally, it's not that difficult, but it takes a lot of effort." Dr. Kong didn't hide anything. "House Yu, you should know that we're the ones asking you to work with us now. But once the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing is made, it'll be the other noble houses that come looking for us." Shueishing wasn't an idiot. He understood what Miracle Dr. Kong was saying, but this was a gamble. House Kong was researching the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing, but how confident they were and whether or not they'd succeed was still unknown. Of course, Shueishing understood that House Kong was more eager to research the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing than he was, and that the news wasn't necessarily made up. House Kong was currently under the influence of Miracle Dr. Guan's company and was in a slump. If they didn't have a hit product, they wouldn't be able to hold on for long, even if they became a noble house. This time, however, House Chen's removal from the noble house list was irreversible. Even if House Chen had a fake marriage with the ancient sect, it wouldn't stop Shueising from making a move. Yu Feng had caused trouble this time, and House Yu would be in the wrong if they didn't get rid of him. It'd be better for them to just kill House Chen so that they wouldn't be able to rise again. As for House Song, Shueising would have to see Xiangwen's attitude. If he was willing to marry Lingshan to him, then he'd pretend that nothing had happened. If not, then House Song would be in danger. As for House Wu and House Lu, while House Wu had news of Wu Qintian being crippled, and House Lu didn't have any practitioners, they were still related by marriage. Shueising didn't want to touch them this time, in case he caused a backlash. Plus, with so many empty seats, it wouldn't be easy to replace them with other noble houses. If there were too many empty seats, the position of a noble house wouldn't be valuable anymore. Only by having 1 or 2 empty seats every time could the qualified houses fight for it, and it would also highlight the importance of House Yu. Looking at the current situation, House Kong seemed to be a suitable candidate, and they'd even made a friendly gesture. After a moment of contemplation, Shueising nodded. All right, then I'll help House Kong become a noble house this time. But I'll have to warn you up front. If you don't have a worthy product for a long time, then House Kang's future will be a bit worrying. We understand that, of course. Dr. Kong nodded. We'll do our best. All right, the noble house meeting. You guys come as well, and cooperate with me when necessary. I'll remove House Chen from the noble house list and let you replace them. Shueising said, All right, I understand. Don't worry. House Yu will follow your footsteps. Kong Guifeng said quickly. All right, see you then, Shueising said as he picked up his teacup. Dr. Kong and Kong Guifeng, on the other hand, weren't blind people. They knew that Shueising was sending them off and quickly stood up. Then we won't disturb you any further, House Yu. We'll be on time for the noble house meeting. And Lil Feng, send House Kong off for me, Shueising said to Yu Feng, who was standing behind him. Elder Kong, Mr. Kong, please. Yu Feng said politely to Dr. Kong, but his mind was on Lingshan. He didn't know if Elder Song Xiangwen had made a decision yet. Yu Feng was like that. The more he couldn't get his hands on something, the more he wanted to get his hands on her. It wasn't that Lingshan was the most beautiful person in the noble houses. There were girls with similar looks and backgrounds as her, such as House Lu's Lu Jinghan and House Sun's Sun Jingyi. Of course, there were a few girls who weren't as pretty, but were still from noble houses. But after seeing Lingshan, Yu Feng felt a sense of conquering. The more she refused, the more he wanted to get his hands on her. Target equals _blank. Chapter 1698. Yu Feng, as the son of House Yu, the oldest of the noble houses, had a sense of superiority in his heart. He'd seen all kinds of women, and there were plenty who threw themselves at him, but none like Lingshan, who didn't care at all. Yu Feng didn't believe that he couldn't deal with Lingshan. Yu Feng only hurried back to the guest room after sending the two to the door of House Yu. They're gone, Shueising asked. Yeah, they're gone. I told you Haitian to send someone to follow them and see what they've been up to these 2 days. Yu Feng said. Shueising nodded. He'd already agreed to let House Kong become a noble house, but he still wasn't at ease with House Kong. As a result, he told Yu Feng to send someone to follow Dr. Kong and Kong Guifeng to see if they were playing any tricks. After leaving House Yu, Miracle Dr. Kong said to Guifeng impatiently, Guifeng, you need to give Xiaoming a call and tell him to get the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing recipe from Miracle Dr. Guan's company as soon as possible. We don't have much time left, and although the promotion to a noble house went rather smoothly, House Yu won't let a powerless house like us take the position of a noble house forever. Yes, father, I'll call Xiaoming right now. Kong Guifeng wasn't feeling too good, either. Recently, Dr. Kong seemed to have taken a liking to Kong Ming Ming. If Kong Ming Ming really got the recipe, then Kong Ming would definitely become the next head of House Kong, and his son Xiaolong would be in danger. But Kong Gui Feng didn't have a choice. Becoming a noble house had to be stronger than the current House Kong. Even if Xiaolong couldn't become the head of the house, his position would be much better than it was now. This was the benefit of being a noble house. Dr. Kong and Kong Gui Feng weren't there, and their conversation was heard by Yu Haitian's men. House, you only had Shuaixing and Yu Feng left, along with the half-dead Yu Kuan. House, you still had a few others, and while they weren't strong, they were more than enough to follow House Kong. And so, at the same time, the conversation between the father and son was heard by Shuaixing as well. It seems like they're after the recipe. Shuaixing said, but no matter what, as long as they get the recipe, it's fine. As for where they get it from, it has nothing to do with us. Father, about House Songling Shan. Yu Feng asked, unwilling to give up. I've already pressured that old thing, Song Xiangwen. I'll bring it up again during the meeting. And if that old thing doesn't know what's good for him, then we'll just kick him out. Shuaixing was pissed at the mention of Xiangwen. He'd agreed to it. And now something happened to his granddaughter. Shuaixing felt like he'd lost a lot of face. Thank you, father. Yu Feng was overjoyed. The meeting of the noble houses, while some are happy and some are sad, was still held as promised. The so-called noble house meeting wasn't a big one. Only the heads of the 9 noble houses brought their younger generation to the meeting room of House Yu's auction house. Of course, other than the 9 noble houses, there was another house, House Kong. Other people were surprised, but when the old man of the Qin family and the old man of the Song family saw this situation, their hearts thumped. The hint was self-evident. The Kong family could participate in this meeting of the aristocratic families, which meant that the Kong family was likely to become a member of the aristocratic families. If the total number of noble houses increased by 1, then it'd be fine, but if it didn't change, then one of the noble houses would have to be purged. According to the agreement between the noble houses, it was better to have none than to have substandard members. So, those who didn't have the qualifications would definitely be purged from the noble house list. Sitting at the head of the meeting room was Yu Shuaixing, and behind him was Yu Feng. As the leader of the noble house meeting, it was normal for House Yu to sit at the head of the table. The younger generation was only here to gain experience, so naturally they wouldn't sit down. House Lu's old man Lu Jinhu, House Wu's old man Wu Gonggao, House Yang's old man Yang Daocha, House Song's old man Song Xiangwen, House Sun's old man Qin Kuanglan, House N's old man and Mingyue, House Xiao's current head Xiao Ji, and standing behind him was his brother Xiao Ben. They didn't bring Xiao Wangba and Xiao Wangdao. The only ones who stood out were House Kang's Dr. Kong and Kong Gui Feng. They were sitting at the end, but the rankings would probably be rearranged after the meeting. Everyone's here, we're all old acquaintances, so I won't say much. Shuaixing made a gesture for silence, speaking slowly. The noble house meeting is a rule that has been in place for many years, and I'm sure you all understand that the first part of the meeting is to rank the nobles and the nobles. This is a rule that hasn't changed since time immemorial, and the ranking of the noble houses is based on their wealth and the strength of their members, as well as the background of the noble houses. Everyone knew this rule, but the ranking was usually made up of the 4 strongest noble houses and the 5 weaker ones. This was the so-called 4 big noble houses and 5 small noble houses, but there was no specific ranking. Of course, House Yu, who was the strongest overall, was still the leader. The first part was enough to make elder Qin Kuanglan feel sorrowful. House Qin had a huge advantage in this meeting, with Chun Yutian becoming a mystic early phase. Add that marriage with House Qin, and there shouldn't be a problem for them to be in the 4 big noble houses. But because of Qin Yutian's meddling, he was beaten into a cripple. House Qin was done for this time, and they probably wouldn't even have a place in the 5 small noble houses. The second part is to clean up the grudges. If you have any conflicts, you can speak up, and I and the others will help you mediate. If you can't, then we'll use the old rule, force. Of course, if you give up the right to pursue the matter, then you can't use the old grudges to talk about it anymore. This has always been the rule of us, noble houses. Everyone's goal is to earn more money and more time. If we always waste our time and energy on grudges, I'm afraid no one wants to see that. Yu Shueishing continued, glancing at Elder Qin Kuanglan as he spoke. Target equals _blank. Chapter 1699. Everyone nodded after hearing Shueishing's words. Only House Chen's Qin Kuanglan and House Song's Song Xiangwen felt sorrow. It seemed like House Yu was going to use them as an example. The other houses, on the other hand, didn't have much of a grudge against each other. They were all noble houses, after all, and they all gave each other some face. Plus, there were marriages within the houses, so there wasn't much conflict. They all put on innocent and kind expressions. Only Jiang Wen stood behind his father and Ming Yue, squinting his eyes at everyone like a wolf looking for its prey. House and wasn't weak. They didn't have any practitioners, but they had a lot of money, and they had the support of the firewolves. There was no doubt that they'd be able to maintain their position as one of the 5 small noble houses. But Jiang Wen didn't seem to care about all this. In his eyes, these noble houses were all his targets, fat sheep waiting to be slaughtered. Jiang Wen's ambition had grown to the extreme, and with the professor's support, he didn't care about the normal noble houses anymore. Of course, even House Yu didn't know that the Firewolf Gang was just a cover. Behind the Firewolf Gang, there was a huge backer. The professor was here to help Jiang Wen earn money, but in reality, some of the results of his research were for the backer behind the Firewolf Gang. As for the money he earned, the backer didn't really care about it, so he left it for the Firewolf Gang to develop themselves. Jiang Wen himself wasn't too clear on this, but he knew one thing. Once the professor could create a medicine that could maintain the mystic class for a long time, he'd be able to make his move on the noble houses. Regrettably, though, that medicine couldn't be given to him, or he'd get a taste of what it felt like to be a master. The third round is the sparring between the younger generation. House Yu, on the other hand, has prepared some medicine for the winner of this sparring competition. A small qi gathering pill from the hidden House Yu. I'm sure you've all heard of it. It's a great medicine for increasing strength. Shueishing said, Wah dash. Everyone revealed looks of envy and greed when they heard that the prize was a lesser qi gathering pill. But they all knew that House Yu's Yufeng was the strongest amongst the younger generation, and no one else could fight him. So, rather than saying that this prize was a prize, it was more accurate to say that House Yu took it out to show off. After all, in a sparring match, Yufeng would be the winner no matter what, and this pill was still his. Therefore, after the surprise and envy, everyone calmed down. They didn't need to think too much about things that didn't belong to them. How could something in House Yu's hands be so easily obtained? Since no one has any questions, let's move on to the first part. Each house, report your income from last year, as well as the strength of your practitioners. Do you have any backers? Shueishing said. House Yu, I don't need to talk about it. Just the income from this auction house alone is enough to cover the income of a few of your families. As for our strength, there's no need to talk about it. I'm a mystic late phase peak. Yufeng was at the middle phase of the mystic class, and our House Yu's backing is the hidden House Yu. Shueishing said that there was no need to talk about it, but he still gave a detailed description of House Yu's strength. Indeed, House Yu's strength was the strongest amongst all the noble houses. Our Shao family didn't have much income last year, but we've received a few big deals recently. Next year, we'll probably get a few billion, of course, including our fixed assets. Shao Ji said proudly. Our Shao family doesn't have any practitioners at the moment, but our backer, the Hidden House Pai, has said that he'll guide my son and nephew in training. The Xiao family's situation made everyone gasp. They were a family that didn't receive much attention at the auction, and now they'd become famous all of a sudden. It seemed that having the support of a hidden house was indeed different. It wouldn't be long before Xiao family would be on the same level as House Yu. Other than House Yu, the Xiao family had the biggest backing, so it was normal for Xiao family to speak up first. Of course, the firewolves behind House and weren't weak either. But Mingyue was a low-profile person, especially since he and the firewolves were involved in some illegal dealings. It was best not to speak too much. Our House Lu's fixed assets increased by around 3 billion last year. As for practitioners, we don't have any yet, Jinhu said. With House Lu's strength, it wouldn't be a problem for them to keep their position, but they'd definitely become one of the 5 small noble houses. I'm a mystic middle phase, and while our House Wu's business isn't that big, we still have a few billion worth of assets. Gong Gao felt sorrowful as well. If Qin Tian hadn't died, House Wu would definitely be second only to the Xiao family, but now it was hard to say whether or not they could enter the ranks of the 4 big noble houses. House Yu's position as one of the 4 big noble houses was already set in stone, and Xiao family had the intention of catching up to them. They'd definitely become one of the 4 big noble houses. As for House Sun, while they were a healer family, their position was special. As long as Elder Sun was still alive, House Sun would definitely be one of the 4 big noble houses. As for the last spot, Gong Gao felt that he might not be able to fight for it. House Sun wasn't weak either. Not only did they have the support of the firewolves, but they were also very rich. Before, House and didn't have much money, but with the support of the firewolves, they became the leader of the 5 small noble houses. Now, they'd probably enter the ranks of the 4 big noble houses. Of course, taking a step back, even if House Sun gave up on this position, if House Song agreed to the marriage with House Yu, then House Yu would definitely give House Song a spot as one of the 4 great houses. This way, House Wu would have no hope at all. One had to know that although the 4 great aristocratic families and the 5 small aristocratic families were all aristocratic families, there was a huge difference in their levels. The Wu family was definitely not as glorious as before. After that, the other houses reported their strength as well. When it was Elder Chen's turn, Qin Kuanglan thought of her injured grandson, Qin Yutian, and her heart ached. She sighed helplessly. House Qin doesn't have any properties. Qin Yutian used to be a mystic early phase, but he was crippled. Now he only has the support of an ancient sect. Ancient sect? Which ancient sect? Dr. Kong spoke up before Shueishing and the others could speak. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Qijian and recommend it. Your support is my greatest motivation. Target equals _blank. Chapter 1700. Qin Kuanglan frowned. He knew that House Kong was up to no good. It seemed like they'd planned this from the start. The ancient sect's engagement was a top secret, and Qin Kuanglan couldn't just say which sect it was. The ancient sect didn't allow him to say it either. Plus, it had been so long and there was no news at all. This was basically a lost cause, and Qin Kuanglan didn't expect this to be a bargaining chip for House Qin. He'd lost all hope before coming here, so he wasn't surprised at all. He looked at Dr. Kong. You can pretend it's nothing. House Qin has no money, no background, and no practitioners. House head you. How can a house like this become a noble house? Isn't that a little weird? Miracle Dr. Kong asked, a little surprised. Chi no pop-up window N. We're just calculating the strength of each house. We'll talk about other things later. Shueishing nodded, but the meaning behind his words was clear to everyone. Now, it's time for everyone to settle their grudges. Do you guys have any grudges? Can you bring them up? What grudges did these people have? So when Shueishing asked the question, everyone's eyes focused on Elder Qin Kuanglan. What happened these days wasn't a secret, Everyone knew what happened between House Yu and House Chin. In fact, House Chin could be considered the victim, but there was nothing they could do. Whoever was stronger was in the right. House Yu was clearly bullying House Chin, and House Chin couldn't do anything about it. Since no one's talking, then we'll start with House Yu. Shuixing turned to Qin Kuanglan faintly. Elder Qin, your Qin Yutian is meddling in my son and his girlfriend's business for no reason at all. What's going on? There's always a reason to frame someone. Qin Kuanglan was going all out. There was no chance for him to turn the situation around anymore, but he had to make things clear before leaving the noble house meeting. Right? He was weak, and House Qin had no money, no practitioners, and no back. He could give up on the title of a noble house, but he couldn't allow himself to be wronged. And so Qin Kuanglan had to make things clear. Lingshan isn't your son's girlfriend, is she? This was something Lingshan had never admitted to. How was this interfering? Plus, there's nothing between my grandson and Lingshan. There's nothing between them. Your son hurt my grandson for no reason at all. Shouldn't you give us an explanation for this, House Yu? Give you an explanation? Old thing, have you gone senile? Shuixing didn't say anything, but Dr. Kong spoke up first, pointing at Qin Kuanglan. Even I, who's not from a noble house, have heard of Yu Feng and Lingshan's marriage. How could you not have? Are you bullshitting me? Dr. Kang's words made Qin Kuanglan's veins bulge. This Dr. Kong and Shuixing were working together, obviously trying to cause trouble for her. Patriarch Qin, how do you explain this? Let's talk about the facts. It's true that your Qin Yutian interfered and caused a rift between my son and Lingshan. You have to give us an explanation for this, don't you? Shuixing thought that this Dr. Kong wasn't a bad person after all. He knew how to play along and let House Qin take a bite out of him. I give you an explanation. Qin Kuanglan clenched her fists and glared at Shuixing, her heart filled with sorrow. She was the victim here, but it was like House Yu was the one who'd suffered a huge loss. What? Elder Qin doesn't want to follow the rules of a noble house, Shuixing asked faintly. Patriarch Qin, in order to regain my face, I'm prepared to challenge your Qin Yutian. Of course, anyone from House Qin can take his place. Elder Qin, you can do it yourself, too. I won't say that you're bullying the weak. Haha. Yu Feng followed Shuixing's words with a smile. Qin Kuanglan's heart was filled with humiliation. She stood up abruptly, her eyes red as she glared at Shuixing and Yu Feng. House Yu, don't go too far. Aren't you ashamed to act like a victim? Do you think I don't know what you're trying to achieve? Elder Qin, what do you mean by this? Everything is being done according to the rules of a noble house. If you think that we're bullying you, then you can bring it up and challenge us, Shuixing said faintly. Challenge me or challenge Yu Feng, it's all fine. You. Qin Kuanglan clutched his chest, almost coughing up blood. House Qin didn't have any practitioners, so how could they be a match for House Yu? Wasn't challenging them the same as committing suicide? Qin Kuanglan was prepared to be kicked out of the noble house ranks, but he couldn't keep his cool after being humiliated like this by House Yu. House Yu had gone too far, acting like a victim when they got the advantage. Don't think I don't know what you're thinking. You want me to leave the noble house ranks, right? I'll leave. You don't have to say so much. This was supposed to be a meeting of 9 noble houses, and now there's a House Kong. Shuixing, you think I don't know what you're planning? Do you think I don't know what you're trying to do with me? I'll be leaving the noble house myself this time. You don't have to worry about it anymore. Qin Kuanglan smiled bitterly as he looked around at everyone. No one was speaking up for him. Everyone knew that House Yu was twisting the facts. But who would dare speak up for House Qin? Qin Kuanglan's gaze finally landed on Song Xiangwen. Yu Tian was injured because of Lingshan, and if Xiangwen didn't speak up now, it'd be too much. But Xiangwen couldn't even protect himself right now, and as apologetic as he was, he didn't dare speak up. Old friend, don't get too worked up. Let's sit down and talk. Yeah, Could it be that old man Chin thinks that by withdrawing from the ranks of the aristocratic families, everything will be fine? Shuishing followed up. Before you leave the noble house ranks, you need to give me an explanation, right? You dash! Qin Huanglan was shaking with rage. He never would have thought that Shuishing would be this shameless. He'd already made such a huge concession. But Shuishing was still pushing it. This made Elder Chen's chest heave up and down. Even his breathing was uneven. Target equals _blank. Chapter 1701. Huanglan let out a long breath and pointed at Shuishing, raging. Shuishing, don't go too far! I've already left the noble house list. What else do you want from me? Do you want me to give up my life here as an apology? That's right, House Head you. Elder Chin is an old acquaintance of ours. Let's just let this go and let him leave peacefully. Elder Song Xiangwen couldn't help but speak up. No pop-up window chi. House Head Song, we're talking about the grudge between House Yu and House Chin. We haven't even settled our score yet, and you still want to stand up for someone else? Shuishing looked at Xiangwen, his voice dark. Your House Song broke the engagement. Don't you want to give us an explanation? Xiangwen didn't think that his words for House Chun would cause Shuishing to point the spear at him. He could only look at Huanglan apologetically, avoiding eye contact. House Song can't say that we broke the engagement, but the two kids don't seem to be getting along very well. I only said that they'd get along for a while. I didn't say that they had to be together. Let's not talk about you for now. We'll talk about House Chin later. Shuishing's words extinguished Xiangwen's fire. He turned back to Huanglan. You're leaving the noble house list, that's for sure. But it doesn't mean that it'll be fine. House Yu's reputation has been damaged. You should at least show some sincerity to compensate us, right? House Yu, aren't you being a little unreasonable here? House Yu is the head of the noble houses, and we should be a role model. You should be more generous. Don't you think it's a little inappropriate for you to push an old man like this? It was Sun Yikai who spoke up. He was a straightforward person, always wanting to stick his nose into things that were unfair. He knew that it wasn't his place to speak, but he couldn't help but speak up anyway. House Head Son, it seems that your upbringing isn't that great. Didn't you tell him about the rules of the noble house meeting? The young ones are only here to learn. They don't have the right to speak. Shuishing looked at Yikai darkly as he spoke to Elder Sunday. Ahem, Yikai, don't talk nonsense. Old Man Sun looked at his grandson awkwardly. He also knew his grandson's character. He was the kind of chivalrous person who would stand up for injustice. However, on this occasion, with the Sun family's identity, it was impossible for them to speak up for the Chen family. Grandpa, I'm not spouting nonsense. I'm just stating a fact. Justice is in everyone's heart. Now everyone can see that the Qin family has fallen. Just let them withdraw quietly. Why do we have to make things difficult for them? Sun Yikai was stubborn. He raised his head and said stubbornly, Is everyone mute? Your silence today may bring about the same outcome as the Qin family tomorrow. Who can guarantee that their family will not decline like the Chen family in the future? Sun Yikai's words were right in the hearts of all the aristocratic families. Sun Yikai was right. This time it was the Qin family. Next time it might be their family. This was especially true for the weaker families, such as the current Liu family. Sun Yikai, do you have the right to speak here? The juniors should have the rules of the juniors. Could it be that House Sun thinks that you're strong enough, stronger than House Yu, that you can replace House Yu? Qingdi spoke up at this moment. He was speaking for House Yu. After all, House Wu and House Sun were no longer connected by marriage. He wasn't afraid of offending House Sunday. Instead, saying something like that would please House Yu, so why not? However, he didn't think that his words would backfire on him. He said that House Yu was strong. Didn't that mean that House Yu was bullying others? If House Sun was stronger than House Yu, then wouldn't House Yu be in the wrong? And so, this flattery really pissed Shuaishing off. He was pushing them step by step, but he was just pointing at them and saying that he was in the right. Now that Chingdi said it, it sounded like he was bullying others. Head Wu, you should take care of your grandson. It's not good to stick your nose in other people's business. Wu Qintian was crippled because of it. Don't let your grandson become crippled as well. Shuaishing warned faintly. Gong Gao was a smart man, and he felt that Qingdi's words weren't very appropriate. Weren't you saying that house you was bullying others? How could they be happy? The noble houses had to at least keep up appearances. And if you continued like this, wouldn't house you be embarrassed? But Shuaishing's words hit Gong Gao's sore spot. Qintian was his favorite, and he was being used as a scapegoat. Gong Gao was furious. Heju, what do you mean by that? What's wrong with my grandson? He's just a little injured. He's not crippled, is he? Is this a curse? Crippled or not, you know it yourself. Shuaishing wasn't afraid of Gong Gao. What, Head Wu, you're not happy? Then in the third segment, you can let your grandson, Qintian, come up and spar with him. If he defeats my son Yufeng, then facts will speak louder than words. Gong Gao's weakness was hit, but he couldn't rebuke. If he agreed, wouldn't that be sending Qintian to his death? Even Qintian wasn't a match for Yufeng. They were a whole level apart. And so, Gong Gao could only keep his head down and keep quiet, sulking. All right, house head Qin, look, no one's standing up for you now, and they all think that you should show some sincerity and compensation. Shuaishing turned his attention back to Kuanglan after dealing with the crowd. What sincerity? What compensation? Kuanglan suppressed her anger and asked, her hand on her chest, I won't ask for much. Your House Chen's villa in Yanjing, give it to us. From now on, House Chen will move out of Yanjing, and don't let me see you again. Shuaishing said coldly. Otherwise, don't blame me for remembering what happened back then. You. Kuanglan almost fainted from the anger. House Chen had lived in this villa for so many years, and now he was telling him to give it up and leave Yanjing. Never to appear in front of House Yu again? Me what? If it weren't for the fact that House Chen doesn't have that much money, I wouldn't have taken out $1 billion or so. Do you think this will be settled so easily? Shuaishing said faintly. Shuaishing, I don't know if you've heard of this saying, the river flows 30 years east and 30 years west. Prosperity and decline are ever-changing. Chen Kuanglan was so angry that he calmed down. He pointed at Yu Shuaishing and said, word by word, Yu Shuaishing, let me give you a piece of advice. Don't be too ruthless. Your house, you will meet its end sooner or later. Target equals _blank. Chapter 1702. 30 years? Ha 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 ha. Old thing, it's a question if you'll even live past 30 years. Shuaishing laughed heartily, not taking Kuanglan's words seriously at all. All right, I'll wait and see if this day will come for House Yu. No need to wait. 30 years is too long. The door of the conference room was kicked open, and a voice as cold as hell rang in everyone's ears. Although it was low, it was mixed with thick, true energy, causing everyone's eardrums to buzz, giving them a kind of deafening feeling. The door of the meeting room turned into a pile of wood shavings. Not a single piece was intact. Everyone in the meeting room jumped in fright. They never thought that someone would dare come at a time like this. One had to know that the noble house meeting was a meeting of the strongest practitioners in the common world. The wood shavings slowly dispersed, and 5 people appeared in front of the meeting room. He stood in the middle. He was the one who broke the meeting room's door, and he was the one who said those words. There were 4 people behind him. 2 were standing, and 2 were sitting. Yushu and Lingshan were standing, and Yutian and Wu Qintian were sitting. Yutian and Qintian were in wheelchairs, pushed by Yushu and Lingshan as they followed Lin into the meeting room. Lin Yi. Shuaishing couldn't be more familiar with this Lin Yi person. The first time he met him was when he was with Xu Emin, and Xu Aixing didn't pay much attention to him back then. But after a series of events, Lin Yi became House Yu's mortal enemy. Didn't you want to see if this day would come for House Yu? Then you don't have to wait, you'll see it now. Lin Yi looked around the room, his eyes landing on Sun Yikai and Sun Jingyi. He smiled and nodded at them before turning to Jinhu. No pop-up window in the conference room. There were only a few acquaintances. Lin Yi didn't have any personal relationships with the others, so he naturally wouldn't greet them. When Sun Jingyi first arrived at the conference room, she was wondering why Lin Yi wasn't here. Wasn't he here with Qintian? But all he saw was Gong Gao and Qindi, not Qintian and Lin Yi. At this time, the aristocratic family's meeting had already begun, so she had no way to call Lin Yi again. After that, House Yu attacked House Qin right away, giving him no chance to talk to his grandpa. He didn't think that Lin Yi would show up at the noble house meeting like this. Is he here to participate in the aristocratic family gathering? This was practically a show of force. Lin Yi, I didn't even have the time to find trouble with you. I didn't expect you to deliver yourself to me. Do you really think that we, the common world House Yu, can't do anything to you? Xu Aixing looked at Lin Yi, his eyes filled with rage. What a joke! I thought you brought some helpers, but you brought 2 handicaps, a normal person, and a mystic early-phase Lingshan. How childish! Yu Feng's strength wasn't as high as Lin Yi's, and it was because of Yu Feng that Lin Yi got into trouble. So he told Yu Feng to retreat first. He himself was busy with the noble house meeting, so he didn't have the time to look for trouble with Lin Yi. But this Lin Yi came knocking on his door. Did he really think that he was invincible as a mystic mid-phase peak? Shield bro, how did this guy become the head of House Yu? Why is he so similar to us? We're here to cause trouble, and he's not afraid at all. So what if my brother is handicapped? He can still take revenge. Yushu closed her mouth subconsciously after saying the word. She only breathed out in relief after realizing that Meng Yao wasn't there. Otherwise, she'd tell Yushu not to curse, or she'd tear her mouth apart. I don't know, but there's only 2 normal people left in their house. That Xie Yufeng is even more of a weakling, and he's standing out. Lin Yi said. Oh, I see. Yushu nodded. Prophet Shu, your House Yu is done for. The sudden appearance of Lin Yi's group stunned everyone in the meeting room. They didn't know what was going on, especially Elder Qin Kuanglan. He didn't understand. Why would the granddaughter bring her grandson here? Wasn't this just looking to die? Old Song Xiangwen, on the other hand, was a little pissed off as well. It was fine that Ling Shan didn't want to marry Yu Feng, but now she was messing around with House Yu's enemies. What was House Song going to do now? Elder Wu Gonggao, on the other hand, didn't understand the situation. Qintian said that he had Lin Yi as his boss, and now Lin Yi brought 2 handicapped people to cause trouble? What was going on? Grandpa, hurry up and announce that we're not related to Qintian anymore. Isn't he harming us? Qindi lowered his voice and said to Gonggao. Gonggao looked at Qindi coldly and didn't say anything. It wasn't that he didn't understand, but he couldn't do something like that. Qintian was his grandson. Grandpa, I'm sorry for making you worry, but I did say that I'll be your pride. Qintian saw through Gonggao's confusion and comforted him. Over at House Sun, Ikai lowered his head and said to Elder Sun, Grandpa, he's my sister's boyfriend, my brother-in-law. Eh? Elder Sun thought that his ears were damaged and he didn't hear it clearly. Ikai, what did you say? Grandpa, the boyfriend I was talking about. It's actually him. He's here. Sun Jingyi said, helplessly, thinking that this Lin Yi was really something. It was fine if he didn't come, but when he did, he caused such a huge commotion. Elder Sun almost had a heart attack after hearing that. Why was Sun Jingyi's boyfriend here to cause trouble? How could this be? If House Yu found out about this, wouldn't House Sun be in trouble? Elder Sun coughed twice and was about to tell Sun Jingyi not to say anything and not to recognize him. But someone else came to recognize Lin Yi first. The talented lady of the Lu family, Lu Jinghan, had also come. Her face was covered with a veil. She did not want others to know her true appearance. She had been hiding behind the scenes of the Lu family. Even the people of the other aristocratic families did not know what Lu Jinghan looked like. However, the other aristocratic families did not care about her mystery. Even if she was as beautiful as a goddess, she wasn't a practitioner. The temptation of a beauty wasn't as strong as the strength of a practitioner. Jing Jing, what do we do? Lu Tianyi stood behind Lu Jinhu and asked Lu Jinghan in a low voice. Target equals _ blank. Chapter 1703. Something's not good. I think Houseu is done for this time. Lu Jinghan pondered for a moment and said, she was a person who was good at calculation and analysis. Based on the research and analysis she had collected on Lin Yi during this period of time, it seemed that Lin Yi would not do something so stupid as to throw away his life. There was only one possibility, and that was that Lin Yi had absolute confidence. Then Houseu would be in danger. Lu Tianyi raised his eyebrows and walked quickly towards Lin Yi. Under everyone's surprised gaze, he greeted Lin Yi enthusiastically. Miracle Dr. Lin, you're here. Why didn't you tell me in advance that I was going to pick you up? Hee, I'm here to cause a scene. If I told you, wouldn't I implicate you? Lin Yi was also a little surprised that Lu Tianyi would publicly support him at this time. One had to know that Lin Yi's current strength was far below Houseu's in everyone's eyes. But Lu Tianyi supported him so decisively. This was not an easy feat. Therefore, at this moment, the Lu family was also included in Lin Yi's scope of use. What are you talking about? What's there to implicate? You are my father's savior, and our Lu family's great benefactor. Our Lu family will go through water and tread on fire to help you. Lu Tianyi said, you're not bad. Lin Yi nodded. But Mr. Lu, you should stay away for a while. You're not a cultivator, so you can't solve the problem here. Okay. Lu Tianyi nodded and dodged to the side. Lu Tianyi, how are you? As soon as Lin Yi came, you went to suck up to him. House, you will remember this grudge. Shuixing felt like he'd lost a lot of face. Lu Tianyi was slapping him in the face, and so Shuixing decided that once this was over, the next target would be House Lu. All right, don't write it down. I reckon that after today, you'll lose your ability to remember. Lin Yi said indifferently. What do you mean? Yu Feng raged. Lin Yi, don't think I'm scared of you just because you're a level higher than me. My father is a mystic late phase peak, one step away from the Earth class. It's not too late for you to kneel and beg for mercy. What do you mean he doesn't know? Lin Yi shrugged and turned to Yu Shu. Shu, this guy's a little dumb. Tell him what he means. Shield Bro means to tell you that after today you're a dead man. Dead people don't have memories. Yu Shu said proudly as she looked at Lin Yi. Shield Bro, am I right? Congratulations, you're absolutely right. Lin Yi nodded. Yay. Yu Shu made a victory sign with her hand. Ha 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 ha. Yu Feng started laughing. Lin Yi, are you out of your mind? You're just a bunch of old people and you want to challenge me? Who do you think you are? I can kill you even if I'm a cripple. Yu Tian clenched his fists and looked at Yu Feng. Yu Feng, didn't your Houseu say it? If you want to solve your grudges, you can do it with force? Very well, I'll challenge you now. Challenge me? You? Yu Feng's eyes widened as if he'd heard the funniest joke in the world. You're a cripple and you want to challenge me? Chun Yu Tian, do you want to die? We don't know who's going to die yet. Yu Tian said indifferently. The humiliation from that day, I'll wash it away today. Headchin, you see, your grandson is the one who wants to die. We didn't kill him. Yu Feng said to Kuanglan. You know the rules of the arena. Life and death are decided by the heavens, and there's no need to pursue this matter. Kuanglan was surprised by Yu Tian's sudden appearance, and even more so by his sudden challenge to Yu Feng. But as far as he was concerned, his grandson wasn't that impulsive, and Yushu was here as well. How could he just watch Yutian walk to his death? There had to be something he didn't know. But he still said, "This is Yutian's decision. I support him." "All right, let's go to the arena next door." Shueishing, on the other hand, wanted to see what Lin Yi was up to, but in order to prevent them from playing any tricks, he spoke up first. "Chun Yutian, since you're the one who issued the challenge, you should go up, right? You won't find someone to replace you, will you?" To be honest, Shueishing was really afraid that Yutian would find Lin Yi to replace him, and so he blocked Yutian's escape route and continued. "Don't say that Lin Yi is your sister's boyfriend, that he's part of House Jin too." "No need. I'll take my revenge with my own hands." Yutian looked at Shueishing with disdain. "All right, you're asking to die, so don't blame anyone else." Shueishing said, "As long as Lin Yi didn't go up, everything would be fine." Yutian was a cripple, and even if he wasn't in a wheelchair, he was only a mystic early phase, 2 levels lower than Yufeng. Yufeng could easily beat him up. "There's no need for the arena. We can settle it here," Yutian said. "Haha, do what you want, but don't say that I'm bullying you. You're just a piece of trash in my hands, and you still are." Yufeng laughed as he walked towards Yutian, but his laughter stopped abruptly. Because he saw Chun Yutian, who was sitting in the wheelchair, stand up. Yufeng's eyes widened. Wasn't Yutian disabled? Wasn't he in a wheelchair? How could he stand up? Yufeng pointed at Yutian in disbelief. "Aren't you disabled?" "Who told you that disabled people can't recover? I just got out of the hospital, can't I?" Yutian looked at Yufeng mockingly. Then, "Why are you in a wheelchair?" Yufeng felt that something was wrong, but he couldn't pinpoint it. After all, no matter how strong Yutian was, he was only a mystic early phase, and that was before he was injured. Even if Lin Yi had some miraculous medicine that could heal Yutian's wounds and restore his strength, he was only an early phase mystic class master. Even if he broke through during this period of time, he could only be a peak early phase mystic class master. There was still a gap between him and Lin Yi. What was there to be afraid of? However, Yufeng had an indescribable sense of foreboding. He felt that this matter was a little too strange. "Oh, I was in a wheelchair every day in the hospital, so I'm used to it." Yutian stretched his body. "Suddenly standing up makes me feel a little lightheaded. So the doctor told me to do some recovery training, but they're using you." Target equals _blank. That you're tuning in to the Thunder Spear YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.